business. But what if we told you there is a place where connections aren't just made, they're grown? Meet 2060 Digital, your premier Google partner and top-tier digital agency. We don't just follow trends, we set them. At 2060 Digital, we're not just another agency, we're your strategic partner. We dive deep into your challenges and develop solutions that drive measurable outcomes. Ready to elevate your digital presence with campaigns that connect? Google 2060 Digital today.
Hey, St. Louis, it's Ben Shapiro, and I'm proud to be part of the new conservative voice of St. Louis, News Talk STL. Every weeknight at 11, we cover all the news, personalities, and we'll break down the culture. I'll always give you my opinion. The Ben Shapiro Show, weeknights at 11 on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL, the new conservative voice of St. Louis.
School bus driver in a traffic jam, staring at the faces in a rearview mirror, looking at the promise of the promised land. One kid dreams of fame and fortune. One kid helps pay the rent. One could end up going to prison. One just might be president.
Truth warrior, woke destroyer.
Only in America.
Randy Tobler.
Dreaming in red, white, and blue.
On News Talk STL.
Broadcasting from the Liberty Lair. Hope your radios are turned up because we have a power-packed show for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Randy Tobler Show.
It is. Well, not too much ranting today, I hope. You never know where it's going to go, though. Hey, welcome into the program. Thanks for being with me. Another busy week and a busy day yesterday as the U.S. Secret Service head testified that they have some serious problems. Wow, what great news that was. But I think it did uncover a lot of what we already knew and maybe allowed more transparency. And as well, we had, of course, this week, the word salad Kamala. We have a lot of that going on. Jerome's over there with his... is that the Cardinal baseball cap in homage to the failed season that were the St. Louis Cardinals, or what? I'm wondering.
Oh, no, this is my very special News Talk hat. Yeah, I've heard that the Cardinals actually have been struggling a bit, but I actually got to go to a Cards game the other day where we hit a home run and we actually beat the Pirates. So hopefully it's a good sign for things to come, but I have heard that they're really struggling this season.
All right, so turn your head around there. Let's see that News Talk STL hat. What do we got? Oh, look at that. Oh, baby. All right. My management must really honor you. I don't get a News Talk STL hat. I don't know. What am I doing wrong? I gotta get a hat.
Well,
all right.
Yeah, when you show up this early on a Saturday to be here, they better give me a hat, right?
I'll have to get a hat. I like to advertise what is an iconic brand already in St. Louis, just a couple of years old. And here we are, making some big splash and waves and great events. And of course, great programming all week and weekend. Hey, there was the Fed rate cut. I mean, we have got stories galore to talk about. We had, of course, the pager. That was the most beautiful, wonderful bit of, Mission Impossible, whatever you want to call it, kind of violent espionage I've ever seen. That what the Israelis pulled on Hezbollah. I mean, that was just fantastic. And there's been a lot of fun memes that have come down around that as well. Maybe you saw the one with the pager that said Shalom. Perhaps you saw the one that said from the liver to the knees. I saw that one too. I don't know if you saw that, Jerome.
No, I'm actually really out of the loop with it right now, but I have seen people say, joking about this recently, and I'm so they used a pager. They put like an explosive device in it because now this is going to date me because I'm a millennial, but I didn't think anybody still used pagers.
Well, that was the problem. The Hezbollah leaders had determined that the Israelis were able to hack into cell phones, the regular smartphones, and the IDF and their intelligence apparatus over there, I think, is unrivaled, and that includes the United States. I mean, they are a fighting machine because they're always on the defensive, right? I mean, they're always under assault from one or another of the Iran proxies. And what they did was to then say, hey, we're going to go back to old style pagers. And the old style pagers were just basically a little black, smaller than a cigarette pack. I don't know, maybe, well, I have a little case for I'm showing everyone here on the stream. This is a case for my AirPods. And maybe it's a little larger than that, but there were a couple of buttons, that you could you'd get a page, or you could, if you didn't want it to be audible, you could put it on vibrate. And so that would vibrate, and then it would show a number. The very advanced ones, boy, they even had a message that would print out if you were like connected to some kind of a paging service. And then you could make your phone call. Then you'd have to go to a phone, or in the old days when I had a bag phone, I actually had in the early days, a cell phone came in a bag, like a little, almost like a purse kind of a deal. And it had the big apparatus. And then you'd have to go and find a phone and make your phone call. And folks that are listening will know that. So you weren't even a glint in your parents' eyes when pagers were big. And so anyway, they defaulted to these, and apparently they got into the supply chain. And they were able to get involved, and I think it was a Hungarian company that was distributing them, maybe putting the parts together, but originally I think they came from Taiwan. So a Taiwanese company would send it to Europe. The IDF had infiltrated this company that was, I think, chartered a couple of years ago in 22. And then they gave a whole shipment of them to Hezbollah. So talk about fighting back against the what is alleged by the Jew haters, the indiscriminate killing of civilians. No, I mean, they targeted the people who got the Hezbollah pagers. And I'm not normally one that's lent to finding some kind of satisfaction, dare I even say joy, out of seeing other human beings hurt. But given that these people use children for shields, given that these people were in one way or another responsible, either directly or indirectly, by their endorsement of those who were responsible for the lobbing of how many missiles over and over and over again into northern Israel, one of which killed a very peaceful community. I think there's sort of a non-religious or a non-denominational kind of a sect over there. Remember when the kids playing soccer in the schoolyard were killed with a bomb that went off, or a missile. So to see you see the surveillance pictures of a guy is like he's at the like, imagine yourself at Soulard Market and you're a terrorist and you're looking over the oranges and the apples, and there's this little table of fresh fruit, and he's picking through them. All of a sudden you see something like on his thigh, you see a little puff of smoke. Pretty soon he's down on the ground. He's yelling. I'm like, well, serves you right, you rascal.
Not to make light of it too, but imagine being somebody at that market, and you get cut in line by this guy or something, and you're just like, wow, that guy's a jerk. I really hope God gets him. And the next thing you know, he's just
yeah. And I don't know. And then of course you saw the meme where they were like, well, there's an awful lot of very happy there's 72 very happy virgins, because a lot of these guys lost their testicles too. So, I'm sorry.
Great start to the morning, Dr. Tobler.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I thought we'd have a little humor this morning because the world is such a sick, sinful, twisted place. I'm in a mood. We're going to play this once in a while this morning. Why don't you want to play? Let's play. There's a couple of things that have come out of the debate a couple of weeks ago. Let's play number 4. So, when this whole thing out of Springfield, we talked about it last week, and how, well, are the Haitians really stealing domestic cats and putting them on the Barbie? Are they really putting them on the spit? Well, I don't remember when Donald Trump said that they're eating the cats and the dogs. Some people have come up with some ingenious videos off of it. Here's one of them.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
Oh, yeah, man. The reggae
eating
version.
the pets of the people that live there.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else. People of Springfield, please don't eat my dog. Here's a catalog of other things to eat.
They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
Okay.
They're eating the cats.
That's enough. That's enough.
That is going to be stuck in my head all day now. Just that meow, meow, meow. Oh,
and if you see the video that goes with this particular one, they superimpose a picture of Trump when he does his little dance. So it's imagine Trump doing the Trump shuffle to reggae. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Oh, woo. Okay, we're off to a crazy start. Wow. All right. Well, what are we going to talk about this morning? We've got a lot to talk about, and that will be popping up occasionally as it is a Saturday morning. We don't want to bring you down. There's enough to get. We had the Fed rate cut. We got 50 basis points. Now that could be viewed as good. It could be viewed as, hey, the economy is really in worse shape than we thought. Or the one I like, without putting on my tinfoil hat, this was a political move, and Jerome Powell wants to make sure Kamala Harris is in office. And the rest of the central bank people. I don't know. I have some thoughts about the Fed. My good friend John Tamney wrote a book called Who Needs the Fed? And I just think having central bankers in America and across the globe really determine how our lives are influenced so heavily, how our economic and financial fortunes or not are determined by a few people that meet in Jackson Hole and, they go trout fishing, they yuck it up with some very expensive bourbon, and, they decide how much money is going to be around. They decide, what your investments are worth. I mean, there's just an awful lot they do. So they decided to toy with us this time and I'll throw a little bone, give you 50 basis points. The market will soar. The rivers will part. The air will get clean. The carbon dioxide will be absorbed. It sounds like we're back in Obama time again. And of course, that will allow Harris and Walls to take credit for it. It troubles me. It troubles me bigly. I think that's a Trump word. I know it's not really a word, but it troubles me bigly. We've got other local stuff and state stuff. We got this. Is it Proposition 6 on the minimum wage? I want to talk about that. The Teamster non-endorsement, which I think was really sort of a tacit endorsement for Donald Trump. I mean, when the Teamsters union of all unions, breaks ranks with the Democrats, I don't think there's any other way you can paint that other than, that's endorsement for Trump. And the voting was 56 to 34%, I think, in favor of Trump, right? For the rank and file. I think that was it.
From what I'm hearing, it's 60% for Trump, actually. But what the Teamster union people decided, like the head officials, is that he didn't have a large enough majority for them to officially endorse him, which I think, 60% is like 2/3. So
yeah. Well, in America in 2024, that's a landslide because we're so polarized.
Yeah.
But I think the Teamsters know that their life is so influenced in so many ways, not only personally with their personal finances, but I mean, they have to fuel their trucks. There's so much that's impacted by that, and by energy. And of course, the enemies of traditional fossil fuel energy are Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and the Democrat Party. That's they've been explicit about that. So there's no doubt about that. We got some really I think very heartwarming and such high impact comments from Tony Dungy on Harris's tweet on abortion and faith. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about this Teamster issue. Where is labor falling when it comes to this election cycle? Not only at the central level, at the DC level, the presidential level, but across and down the ballots, the senatorial campaigns, the representative, the congressional campaigns. I want to know what's going on with that. Now, he's the president of the National Right to Work Committee. He'll be with us in a couple minutes. at 6:25. Virginia Kruta at 7:45. And then a real treat, Walid Phares, of course, a Middle East expert who's really predicted this jihad and has followed it so carefully and so academically. He's been an advisor to Congress. He's an advisor to Donald Trump in the 2016 cycle. And he remains a high impact force. He actually originates in Lebanon. He came from Lebanon. So he knows more about probably what's going on there than probably anyone on the planet. He speaks, as far as I know, at least one, if not several of the languages over there. And Walid, is a frequent guest here, and I'm privileged that he'll be with us at 8:05. So we're in for a big day today. And yeah, we'll probably be playing one or the other of the of those songs just to have some fun. Forgive us, folks. It's early on a Saturday, but you gotta humor Jerome and Randy when it's this early. We're glad you're with us too. Maybe you'll get a chuckle of it. Let's go out with that. We'll talk with Mark Nix, National Right to Work Committee, when we come back.
Eating the pets of the people that live there.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my cat.
Always be clear where you get your conservative talk.
Our left groups who are paying for and likely stoking these campus protests today. At least 1.3 million came from two liberal foundations, the Rockefeller brothers and George Soros.
Liberal billionaire George Soros is the largest shareholder of Odyssey,
the parent company of KMOX and 97.1 Talk.
And when he has controls what's on the radio stations, he's going to be able to control the mind, potentially hundreds of millions of Americans.
St. Louis's trusted source and number one
for conservative talk.
This is News Talk STL.
Here's some expert advice from McGuire Moving and Storage. If you have a home or business move coming up, you need to book now. Most moving companies are booked 6 to 8 weeks out. So call McGuire now, get an on-site estimate, set a date. McGuire has 85 years of experience and just won the Spire Quality Award. I can personally testify McGuire goes above and beyond to help the clients. McGuire Moving and Storage, McGuireMoving.com.
No.
Is your computer giving you headaches? Make it happy again with Jeff Computers. For 30 years, this locally and family-owned business has been the St. Louis area's trusted one-stop shop for cybersecurity, managed IT, and data recovery services. Choose the experts at Jeff Computers. They offer computer protection plans and can recover your lost or damaged data. Visit them in Ellisville or call 636-256-7901. Online at jeffcomputers.com and tell them News Talk STL sent you.
For over half a century, Joe Bacardi's has been serving up a little taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned since 1971, we're more than just a restaurant. We're a local landmark. With 4 convenient locations, we offer something for everyone, from our famous pizzas to mouth-watering entrees and delicious salads. Dine in with a glass of wine or grab a quick carryout. Whether it's dinner for 2 or catering for a crowd, Joe Bacardi's has you covered. Visit joebacardis.com and join our loyalty program. Joe Bacardi's, where every meal ends with buon appetito.
Hey, want to amaze your friends when they visit? They will be impressed when they see your custom-made drapes, blinds, or shutters. Michael Proctor will personally help you pick out the correct colors to truly showcase your home. Then he will actually design and personally install everything. No overhead markup. That's going to save you a lot of money on drapes, blinds, or shutters.
Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. The city was booming. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline. St. Louis City Republicans believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican Pat Curtis, Farber Treasurer.
Attention St. Louis. The Republican Central Committee invites you to the annual Lincoln Reagan Days dinner. Join us Saturday, October 5th at the River City Casino for an evening of inspiration and insight with this year's special keynote speaker, J.J. Carell, retired U.S. Border Patrol, who served under Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. Don't miss this opportunity to hear from a true expert in border security. For details and tickets, visit newstalkstl.com.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. This is News Talk STL.
Hey, welcome back into the Tobler Show on News Talk STL. Hope you're having some fun and sitting back with a nice cup of coffee, maybe a cinnamon roll this morning. It's always fun to spend time with you. And it's always great when we get together with Mark Mix, who's president of the National Right to Work Committee. Lord knows that workers' rights are often trampled by those various organizations who propose to help them because leadership may have different objectives. And Mark, welcome into the program. It looks like we may have seen a little disparity between leadership and the rank and file in the Teamster vote this week. What do you think?
Yeah, and indeed, Randy, thanks for the opportunity. Good morning to you. This is an interesting development. And it's one that really, while it makes big headlines, it's not really out of the ordinary for the Teamsters Union. Back in the Nixon years, they endorsed Richard Nixon, they endorsed Ronald Reagan, they endorsed George H.W. Bush, and they didn't endorse in 1996 in the Clinton race. But this is really a good news story for Sean O'Brien and the Teamster Union official. I mean, he had the courage to stand up and say, you know what? 60% of our members support Donald Trump. And so it'd be bad for him politically if the Teamsters endorsed Kamala Harris, which obviously there are some local unions out there that are doing that. But Randy, to your point, this is kind of an interesting opportunity to basically once again kind of recognize that there are a lot of rank and file workers who disagree with the union leadership, but yet union leadership in many instances uses their money to support candidates they oppose. And so this is an interesting story in that regard for sure.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating. As you're, I'm sure, well aware, Right to Work never made it across the finish line here in Missouri, and didn't become entrenched in law. And I think there are pockets throughout the country where the movement still has a lot of steam, but it seems like there's been a little bit of some growth in the union movement in places. And yet you see, what happens when sometimes union overplays its hand. I mean, think of the Boeing workers. My God, I thought of what happened with that. And I was on your website, on the National Right to Work website, and I saw how you were instructing Boeing workers that want to go back to work, how to navigate that. But in a company that's besieged like Boeing is, I mean, doors falling off their airplanes, they got stranded astronauts in space. I would think if I'm a union boss, I don't want to kill the goose that's laying some pretty nice golden eggs. Maybe I don't know, call me a wimp, but it seems like it's a lot of bravado to go on strike in this time. What say you?
Yeah, well, Boeing hasn't had a profit since 2018. Their debt is basically classified as near junk. It is a really difficult time financially for that company. And, look, the workers have the ability to amplify their voice through strikes. But to your point, it doesn't sound like very, very good timing, and we're on the cusp now of a strike for the East Coast ports. The International Labor Longshoremen Association is demanding a 77% raise, and they control 29 ports on the East Coast all the way around Florida into the Gulf of Mexico, and they're going to shut down our supply chain over a demand like that when these people are well compensated. They object to any kind of automation at the ports. I mean, those decisions they make are sometimes you shake your head, but look, that's the law. They can withhold their labor, but the important part is that we have the ability to give workers the rights and let them know their rights in the workplace. And going back to political endorsements, it was Sean Fain, the president of the United Auto Workers Union, who now are losing UAW members at Stellantis and Ford and GM during layoffs and other types of kind of retrenchment of their business model when it comes to electric vehicles, who said this. He said, despite their endorsement of Joe Biden, despite their endorsement of Kamala Harris, said, look, I understand. He's saying this. I understand the great majority of our members will not vote for Joe Biden, but we're going to endorse him anyway. In this case, with the Teamsters, is a little more, like I said, refreshing in that Sean O'Brien understands his political future may determine on how Teamsters respond to his political work, like this endorsement issue that we just spoke about.
What we're watching with the rank and file, no matter what the leadership is doing, I mean, at a minimum, they're sort of backing off strong, full-throated endorsements of Democrats, as they traditionally do. There seems to be almost an inversion of the constituencies when you talk about labor and, the working man and woman in this country and their party allegiances since the Trump era. I mean, to me, it's just been, from that 30,000 foot view, it's really been interesting to see how that's happened. The party of the unions used to be, and the union worker used to be, and the working person that works in the manufacturing or the transportation or those sectors, that used to be they used to be pretty much owned by the Democrats. That's been flipped on its head, hasn't it?
Well, it seems to be. And Randy, I would suggest to you that it's not necessarily a partisan divide, but it's a policy divide. It's the policies that are attracting rank and file union members to Donald Trump and his policies about protecting the border and securing the border and, fighting crime and reducing government reach and lower taxes. It's the policies, not the partisanship. And frankly, union officials and the people that do the hard work in America, they haven't changed really their minds, but the politicians have, and the Democratic Party certainly has. When you look at, the Democratic Party and the people that are representing it now, whether it be, AOC and the Squad or the liberal folks, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I mean, most Americans have disagreements with the policies that Democrats are pushing, which is more government, more power for government, more regulation, open borders, crime that's rampant in the streets. You look at the cities across the country and you begin to see why Americans and why union members in particular are standing up and saying, we don't agree with that. And so it's not necessarily partisan, but it's policy. And I think that's an important distinction because, there are a lot of people that are Republican or D and they know what they think they know what they are, and they're just going to vote that way. But union members, as we're seeing, and Sean O'Brien admits for the Teamsters, they have a little different view, not necessarily a partisanship, right, but certainly a policy.
Talking with Mark Mix, who's the president of the National Right to Work organization, and the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation, and of course, all that you guys do there are really in behalf of working people being able to work. What a novel idea. NRTW.org is the website, NRTW.org. So for folks who are listening, and we do have a lot of folks who listen, and we get the text and we get on the YouTube stream, hey, I'm a union guy, and there's no way I'm voting for Harris, Biden, blah, blah, blah. And so for people who are in unions, and then maybe, fall prey to a strike action like Boeing. I noticed on the website, it says that there's you notified employees that those wishing to continue working should resign their. You actually give practical step-by-step advice on how to navigate union or separate from the union type issues, right? This is interesting. Explain more.
Yeah, indeed. Interestingly enough, workers do have rights. The labor policy that was created in our country back in the 1930s was contemplated on giving individual employees the right to unionize and the right to amplify their voice. But it was written allegedly for employees. Of course, Randy, as you know, as government begins to regulate things and, put meat on the bone of statutes, you find out that it turns out it's for big business and big labor unions. That's where labor law stands today. So our job is to make sure that employees know that they do have limited rights, particularly in a strike situation, because we represent, I got to tell you, literally hundreds, if not thousands of workers who decide they want to cross a picket line. And then immediately upon going to work, and we did this with some nurses and other people that want to take care of their patients, the union comes out, they hold an inter-union court, and they fine these people. We've had employees that have been fined up to $40,000 for going to work. And so in order to exercise their rights to do this, yeah, Randy, it's really amazing. In order to exercise their rights, they have to do this really, really perfectly. They have to resign their union membership before they go back on the job, because otherwise the union has disciplinary jurisdiction over them and can fine them and punish them. And they do that all the time when these workers want to go to work. And so we've helped numerous employees exercise those rights, but it's very specific how you do it. And that's why we send out these notices, particularly with large strikes like the Boeing strike and the railway strike and the ILA strike that's coming up. I mean, we want to make sure workers know their rights and get it done right. We will help them when the union comes after them. I think we had some Caterpillar workers that maybe 10 or 15 of them that were fined $40,000 each for crossing a picket line. We got relief for those people. And our attorneys provide free legal aid to workers who want to exercise their rights in the workplace like this. And we do that for free. And so that's why we feel an obligation to make sure people understand that there are things they can do to fight back if they have the courage. And that's hard to do sometimes, Randy, in an environment like that, to stand up and say, look, I'm going to go to work. I disagree with what's happening here. But protecting those rights is a pretty important part of our work here at the Right to Work Foundation.
Well, it's interesting on your Twitter feed. I saw a post that you made concerning the and that is at Right to Work on the foundation's Twitter feed at Right to Work. You talk about workers' rights, and we hear an awful lot about the back and forth, and even the I guess the moral aspect or the ethical aspect of people who would who are non-union workers, but as the unions say, they benefit from the union's efforts in terms of pay and benefits and protections and so forth. But yet, so they're mandated in many places, they're mandated to pay dues. And I don't know whether I guess that's by either is that state or federal law. But you said that on this post, there's a poll that's been done that shows that the vast majority of Americans, whether they're independents, Republicans, even Democrats, don't really believe that union dues should be mandatory, that they should be voluntary. What's the status of voluntary versus mandatory union dues in America?
Yeah, Randy, great question. Thank you for bringing that up. The idea of forced unionism, the idea of being forced, historically being forced to join and pay dues to a union in order to get or keep a job comes from federal law. There is no law in Missouri statute, for example, that forces workers or that forces workers to pay union dues to a union. That comes from the federal government that imposed it on all 50 states back in the 1930s. And so this imposition of forced unionism came with the forced representation. You had to give up your right to speak for yourself in the workplace, and you had to associate with the union, even though you may not have voted for them, wanted them, or asked for them. But you have to give up your voice in the workplace. And this is called exclusive representation, and it's something that unions treasure. It's the most prized kind of asset in the union toolbox is this forced association, meaning that they have everybody in a unit. Let's say we have a unit of 100 people, 50 people vote, 26 people vote for the union. The union now represents all 100 people. And I'm not excusing those people that don't vote, but the fact that a very small majority of workers can impose unionization and take away the associational rights of individual employees in a workplace like that is something that's wrong. And then to add insult to injury, to force them to pay dues for that forced association. That's the compulsory unionism issue. And it's an important one to understand because the unions make the argument, well, we do all these great things for workers. Well, that's not even true because a benefit for one may not be a benefit for another, like a seniority system or a step pay system, or, the idea that someone gets a promotion and the union objects because someone has one day more tenure than another worker. There are things that, we can say it's all benefit, but it's not, Randy. And the idea of individual freedom is an important part of this debate. And a lot of politicians, including your Senator Josh Hawley, doesn't understand that. Josh Hawley literally recently said, I would never impose right to work on anyone. And this guy completely misunderstands labor law. It's outrageous, that statement that he makes. And he makes the statement that you just made, that kind of topical argument, well, these people all get this benefit. Well, that's not true either. And Josh Hawley ought to be called out on that because it's the idea of compulsion and force that is the predicate for union power. Yeah. And, Sean O'Brien made it pretty clear. He said the reason why they didn't endorse Trump is because he wouldn't tell them that he would veto a right to work law. Literally forcing workers to pay union dues is the primary objective of the Teamsters, above everything else that they would talk about as far as employee rights and values to employees. The one thing they can't contemplate is someone who say, no, you know what? I think workers have a choice of whether or not they should pay dues or fees to get or keep a job.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear, Mark, that I wasn't endorsing that position, but of course, just parroting what echoing what the unions say. No. And I agree with you. I mean, I think I've talked to so many of my friends that are in unions and patients over the years who say, darn it, the guy next to me just barely meets the quality standards that the job description demands. I'm the one that's working the overtime. I'm the one that's answering the bell. I'm the one that's, making 10 widgets an hour rather than 8, and 8's the minimum, blah, blah, blah. And darn it, we're making the same amount of money. So again, the unions tend to, I think, take away a meritocracy. And that, to me, is fundamentally anti-American. Hey, there's a lot of people in this election cycle that are very upset, Mark Mix, with Josh Hawley and standing in a union picket line, holy cow. It's an interesting race going on here in Missouri for this senatorial campaign.
Yeah, he seems to be a very intelligent man and right on issues, and people are kind of encouraged by the way he operates as a senator. But this position is just really confounding to me. I mean, I've talked to him about this. We talked to him when he was Attorney General in Missouri about right to work. He had a different position when he first ran for office. And the idea that he's somehow been educated and looked into this is just ridiculous. I mean, it's about forcing workers to pay dues or fees to a private organization in order to work. Look, the federal law protects every worker's right to join a union, to participate in a union, to give their entire paycheck to a union if they want to do that, Randy. The idea that that somehow we have to give this private organization the power to force and use compulsion, power that we reserve basically to government. Government's the only institution we say, yeah, you can use force. But a private organization, no way, no how. And that freedom makes union officials accountable to rank and file workers, just like we see with the Teamsters failing to endorse a political candidate because the membership has a different view about what the world looks like than the leadership.
Yeah, I've never understood it. I've never understood ideologically. I'm fine with if a group of people in a workplace want to get together and say, "Hey, Mr. Boss Man, we're out of here in 30 days if you don't give us A, B, and C." Well, then Mr. Boss Man and those 30 people, are going to have some discussions, and he'll have to make a decision. They'll have to make a decision. I don't know why the government has to get in bed with these kind of things, these kind of relations between individual American citizens, and how they interrelate with one another. Can you comment on Federal Reserve Chair Powell's comment, basically acknowledging, I think, what we all know, and our friends at the Center for Immigration Studies and others have said, that the majority, well, maybe not the majority, but I think it is actually the majority of, quote, new jobs, they're actually backfill jobs that have come in under the Biden administration, are largely immigrant workers. What do our unions and what do the workers of America say about that? They have to be indignant and outraged.
Yeah, that's another issue where you see not a partisan shift, but a policy shift. I mean, back during the Lane Kirkland days of the AFL-CIO, they were one of the strongest opponents of this kind of illegal immigration and the immigration policies of the United States. They were the ones that said, look, let's make sure people come in, but let's make sure they come in legally, because exactly to your point, Randy, these jobs are being scooped up by others and they're crowding out the opportunity for Americans and, most importantly, union members to keep their jobs. And, people talk about the greedy corporate leaders, and that's true too. Some of these big business people don't care one way or the other, and we fight them too. We've sued Kroger, we've sued UPS, we've sued other large companies who violate workers' rights. But this idea that now the union movement's like, we don't really care, and let's just bring them in because maybe, just maybe, we can get them to pay union dues too. And that's really the model here. Follow the money in this situation, Randy, and you begin to see how it all works.
Man, I'm telling you, it's just it's corrupt at its very core. Well, Mark, you're doing great work, and I just wanted to, again, we've talked before, we'll talk again. I wanted to bring you and your organization, the National Right to Work Committee, the National Right to Work Foundation, to folks' attention, because it's very important work. It involves fundamental first principle values, and of course, on the practical boots on the ground, it involves people's livelihoods, their workplace, and their families and their futures. We thank you for all the work you're doing. I hope folks continue to follow you, nrtw.org, and at Right to Work on Twitter. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Randy, and go get a bite of that cinnamon roll.
I think I will. You too. Take care.
Okay.
All right. It's very interesting, what's going on in America. And I think a lot of you out there who maybe are in a union and work probably understand that the union isn't always speaking for you. They may say that's the rhetoric, that's the promise. But in the end, is it really good for you? Especially if you're a high flyer, if you're an achiever, if you're that A+, get a 3 for effort. Some of you will remember when there were effort scores and there were scholastic scores. Do you resent that someone, just because they've been there and punched the clock and maybe doesn't have the same zeal, the same company loyalty, the same product and consumer loyalty that you do, making the same amount just because it's mandated by the union contract? I don't know. It's something to think about and ponder. Let's break away, and then when we come back, let's talk a little bit about this Proposition 6. As long as we're talking labor, Proposition 6, it'll be on the ballot, and the minimum wage. Join me. Give me a buzz. 314-912-1019. 314-912-1019 on News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
Everyone's wondering, will you come out tonight? Everyone's trying to get it right, get it right. Everybody's working for the weekend. Everybody wants to
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the News Talk STL app.
Just a convenience on the phone.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, now open in the district of Chesterfield Valley. Napoli has the only coal-fired pizza oven. That means an incredible taste you cannot get anywhere else. So enjoy a unique pizza at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district. And then walk a few doors down and enjoy premium cigars and drinks at Lit Cigar Lounge. There's a perfect way to end the evening. Napoli Pizza followed by Lit Cigar Lounge, a winning combination.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Fall is hopping in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Every weekend, enjoy festivals and events, including the third Saturdays in Mount Vernon Flea Market and Vendor Fair, concerts at the Granada Theater, special events at C.E. Brem Memorial Library, Rev Up at Mount Vernon Fall Fest, Cedarhurst Ironclad Art Motorcycle Show, Jefferson County Historical Village Heritage Festival, and so much more. Celebrate creativity redefined all month long in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Find out more information at enjoymountvernon.com. Brought to you in part by Mount Vernon Tourism and Enjoy Illinois.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 home selling team in the St. Louis area. And I can say that from firsthand experience. My wife and I were blown away from the results that we saw from working with Rodney and Jen, from selling our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible to finding our family's perfect new home. They over-delivered every step of the way. And right now, it's still very much a seller's market. So, Tim, for folks that have been thinking about selling their home, it's a perfect time to call the Wallners.
That's right, Tony. And don't forget, they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. So no matter where you are in the metro area, you can put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. The Wallners' experience and work ethic, second to none. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. The Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. Right now, they're working with so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer. On News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019.
Hey, it looks like you like to get up early, so Monday through Friday, listen to me from 5:30 to 9. Mike Ferguson here, and you are listening to the Randy Tobler Show right here on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the program. You know, I got it wrong. Amendment 6 is about the police funding. It's Prop A that I want to talk about. Prop A. That's one that hasn't been talked about as much as the abortion amendment, Amendment 3, that's on the ballot. And it is one that I think will impact people. We've been talking a little bit about labor and about the unions and right to work, and you do actually have some rights. And I think that's why that National Right to Work Committee website is so important. You do have rights. They're limited. The federal government, the imperial federal government, limits your rights if it's a union shop. But even if you belong to a place that is beginning to talk about unionization, there may be a good place for unions. I make no bones about that. There's no doubt about it. There's a time in relationships between management and labor when that may be necessary. I think most of those battles and the reasons that those battles were fought back in the early 20th century, though, those have been codified into law. And I think, at some point, then it becomes actually a detriment to certain workers because of the one-size-fits-all union mentality. That said, we haven't heard much about Prop A, and I was talking with Tony the other day about it, and his guest, who I believe is a restaurateur. I wasn't able to listen before the the break, but he was talking about restaurant stuff. So this Prop A will increase the minimum wage starting in January to $13.75 an hour, increasing by $1.25 every year until the following year when the minimum wage would be $15 an hour. And then it'll go up based on changes in the consumer price index. And I assume that's the same CPI that is generally referenced beginning every year after that. It requires all employers to provide 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked. 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked. And it allows the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations to provide oversight and enforcement. Watch out. The government, if you own or are a manager in a business, watch out. The government now will be the ally. They will now be working right alongside your unions to help restrict your ability to award great work and not to award not so great work. Exempt government entities, political subdivision, school district. Okay, so let's think about it. Let's say there's roughly 2,000 hours in a work year. It's a little more than that for full-time work. And you multiply that by, $2.50 by the time January of 2027 rolls around. And by that time, in 2 years, you would have raised the cost for a worker, as I comment, 2,000 times 2.5. Let's see. That's wow. I come up with about $5,000 per employee by 2 years down the road. Now, say that you own a tire shop, or you own a fast food franchise, or you own a coffee shop or a bagel shop or a little bakery. Suddenly, you're going to have to find out, and you've got 4 employees, and you're already working 12 or 14 hours a day yourself. I have a small business. It's called Our Practice. Well, I'm on call pretty much 24/7, but I mean, I'm usually busy in the business 10 to 12 hours, sometimes 14 hours a day. And so I'm thinking, wow, now am I going to want to hire anyone if it's going to cost me even $5,000 more 2 years up the road? Now, if I just need someone to help, scan medical records in and set appointments for people and send out referrals and stuff, probably not. Think about that, though. If you got 4 employees, that's $20,000. $20,000 by the time 2 years down the road rolls in. What does that mean for the worker? Is that really good for workers, especially high-flying workers? Jerome, what do you think?
See, I'm still conflicted on it because, on the one hand, we do need to do something to put more power in the hands of consumers. That's what usually drives markets, is as workers having money to be able to spend and put back into the economy and circulate. But just like you're saying, if you know it's going to be a risky investment, if the station right now, I mean, I'm a part-time producer here, and everybody gives me compliments, but if it's going to cost them double or potentially more to keep me on payroll versus having somebody that's already been here for so long, I mean, I'm sure I'd probably get the axe, relatively soon on that list. So I don't know if that's the right move to make. I don't know, and I'm not a business owner. I have studied a little bit of business, so I have a general idea of how, economic stimuluses work. But it just seems like you're either forcing or you're allowing people that are underachieving to be rewarded by law or by policy, whereas they're not going to have that same amount of money or that same budget available to reward those, like you said, that are the overachievers that come in and put their nose to the grindstone and really either dedicate more time and effort to it or just have that natural ability to exceed in a field. So I can see it potentially being a good temporary thing, perhaps, but I don't think long-term it's going to be sustainable. I think that it's going to turn into a few people that they want to keep that are able to do the work of others are going to end up doing the work of others. And then either people are going to have even more layoffs or people are going to grow resentful of their underachieving coworkers.
Well, you're right. And think about it too. I mean, with AI coming in the way it is, with robotics the way they're coming, down the pike, obviously your job couldn't be done by a robot. Okay. It's not going to be able to be done by a robot. But there are jobs. I mean, think about think about these automated. I mean, now okay, so we're already in some places ordering our foods at the fast food joint on a kiosk, right? I can, and aren't there places where they're making the hamburgers automated and they're frying the fries? I mean, I think that's out there, and if not, it's imminently out there. And the other thing to think about for everyone who is so gleeful about this, that may be making $13 an hour now. Okay, how's that working out for you when you go then to the fast food place, or you go to the laundromat and you want a couple of things dry cleaned, okay? And you got to have that done. Okay, you're going to pay more for your service. Yeah, you're making more, but you're going to pay more because they're paying more to the employee. So isn't it in the end game really not a net gain for the employee? I mean, I maybe I'm processing this wrong, but if everyone that I'm doing business with is having to pay their employees more, yeah, I may be making a little bit more, but I'm paying more because they're going to pass those costs along. I mean, they're not going to, the small business person who has a condo and a boat down at Lake of the Ozarks, I don't think they're going to sell their condo and the boat as a result of this. They're either going to bail out, or they're going to just scale down, or they're going to pass it on. And I don't know how that works out better for anyone as a society and as workers and as consumers in the end. But that's just me. Let's talk about it when we come back, okay? And we have some other things we want to talk about, including RFK. Boy, I love the way this guy talks sometimes. I'm not saying he's always right, but he's got some core targets in his crosshairs in terms of government and government corruption with business. More coming up on the Randy Tobler Show, including Virginia Kruta at 6:45, Walid Phares at 8:05. Stay tuned.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Tim Jones here for AMF Electric, in business since 1965, offering a full line of industrial, commercial, residential, electrical, and system services. AMF's residential department will serve all of your wiring needs, including emergency repair, expansion, or new builds. AMF Electric, fully experienced in every commercial installation, including food service, medical and dental services, as well as office expansions. Call them 314-647-4066. Online, amfelectric.com. That's amfelectric.com.
Seavers JCB is offering 0% financing on the industry-exclusive 1CXT backhoe loader from now until September 30th. It's 2 machines in one with skid steer capabilities on the front loader and a 10-foot dig depth on the rear from its integrated side-shifting backhoe. Superior maneuverability and a universal quick hitch make it the ultimate machine for maximum versatility. At just under 10,000 pounds, the 1CXT is easy to trailer and tow, often without a commercial driver's license or local regulations permit. Check it out at SeaversJCB.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
Dive into adventure with Great American Divers. We're your local veteran-owned scuba center offering PADI certification courses, equipment repairs, and dive travel opportunities. From beginners to experts, we got you covered. Kids can join our SEAL Team classes, and we even host pool parties. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Great American Divers on Central School Road in St. Charles. Visit greatamericandivers.com. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
How are your windows doing this summer? Are they keeping the hot air out, keeping the cool air in? If you have any doubts at all, once you get a hold of Window World, simply the best for less. Give them a call today, 314-993-1800. Tim Jones here to tell you how awesome Window World is, one of only 2 window companies in the entire country that carry the coveted Good Housekeeping seal of approval. They've got a lifetime warranty, covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor, a double strength of glass, incredibly thermally efficient, for the first time ever, offering 0% financing plans up to 36 months. 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800, windowworld.com. Window Endoworld.com. How are the trees, shrubs, bushes, and all of your other valuable outdoor assets doing at your home or business? Tim Jones here to remind you that Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com is your one-stop shop for all your tree care needs and so much more. From top-notch tree services to
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Agnew in Washington. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum says when Kamala Harris criticizes Israel for its war in Gaza, she is in effect offering free PR on behalf of Hamas and its state sponsor, Iran.
Unless you're putting maximum pressure on Iran and full support for Israel, if you're doing the opposite, if you're putting conditions on Israel and trying to create space for Hamas to exist, then you're negotiating. That's the position they want. You're negotiating for the terrorists.
Conservative writer Ben Domenech says Kamala Harris has tried to use a middle-class narrative to hide the fact she is, in fact, a political elite.
She doesn't have any connection to the real world. She doesn't. She's been completely separate from it for so long, and she's had this career where every door has been opened for her in order to get ahead, despite the fact that she doesn't have the kind of resume and the kind of success that you would need to have in order to get to this point.
Domenech was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. Donald Trump turned his attention this week toward Jewish voters.
In a speech at a donor event sponsored by the Israeli American Council, the former president promised to be the best friend Jewish Americans have ever had in the White House. He said he would be their defender and protector.
That's White House correspondent Greg Clarkson. That cup of joe may soon cost you a little more.
Brazilian coffee farmers are grappling with above-average temperatures as the country, the world's largest coffee producer, faces its worst drought in more than 7 decades. Vietnam, the second largest coffee producer, is also experiencing heat and drought affecting its coffee crops. As a result, potential supply shortages in both countries have driven up global coffee prices. Prices haven't reached the record highs the world saw in the late 1970s after a severe frost wiped out 70% of Brazil's coffee plants, but they have been soaring in recent years. Keith Peters reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Life takes a toll on our bodies. No way around it. Whether it's sitting hours on end at your computer or working a physical job, over time your body pays the price. There is, however, an effective way to turn back the clock on pain, Relief Factor. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor helps support your body's response to inflammation. The difference? Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it for good. And it's 100% drug-free. If the pains that come with living a full life are affecting you, do as so many others have. Turn back the clock on pain with Relief Factor. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. When you feel good, it's amazing how much more you get out of life. So visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. Try it for only $19.95. While we can't stop aging, not yet, we can stop pain. Turn back the clock with Relief Factor.
Some 98,000 Arizonans will be allowed to vote.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. With the average funeral bill being over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Call 314-866-8886 or memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo for my friends at A Plus Plumbing and Drain, and they truly are our friends because they have done it all at our house over the years, from putting in a new faucet to installing a whole new bathroom from scratch. The team at A Plus has always done great work for a great price. A Plus Plumbing and Drain is a local family-owned business that can take care of all your plumbing needs and specializes in new construction and home renovation. Call A Plus for your next project at 636-288-7126 or through Facebook at A Plus Plumbing and Drain.
Tim Jones here. I'm with Eric from Newsteaders, Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Eric, Newsteaders has been around since 1961. Tell us the story.
Well, Richard started this 62 years ago, and we've stayed a local family-owned store since then. We've actually got 3 generations of Newsteaders working in the store. Richard, his wife, his daughter, and his granddaughter, and we all love what we do. We're kind of a St. Louis family tradition, and we do a lot of unique and one-of-a-kind custom pieces, as well as repairs. There's basically nothing that we can't do, and all of our work is done on site, so you can feel secure knowing that your jewelry never leaves, which is unusual now. And we can computer generate images of custom pieces if you want to go custom. We can take that old jewelry that you're not wearing, and we can turn that into something new that you absolutely love.
Newsteaders, a St. Louis jewelry tradition since 1961. Stop by and find out why. 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road, or on the internet, wowdiamonds.com for Newsteaders Fine Jewelers.
The Allman Report.
Hey, Monday on the Allman Report, all the crazy, nutty stuff from around the weekend. You're going to love it. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman. Weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer, on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
This is Larry Connors. Right now, you're listening to Dr. Randy Tobler. Informative, engaging, enjoy. And I invite you to listen to the Larry Connors USA Daily Report, Monday through Friday at 6.
When you sue an agency, you get a PhD in corporate capture and how to unravel it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do with Donald Trump's backing. Let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to appoint honest officials who don't have conflicts of interest. We're going to listen to whistleblowers and act on their revelations. We're going to slam shut the revolving door that sends industry executives and lobbyists in and out of government. We're going to fire anyone who betrays the public trust or lies to the public. And we're going to prohibit federal agencies from using their powers to harass political opponents. That's what it means to drain the swamp. One of my priorities in Washington will be to make sure that President Trump can follow through on his promise and return us to a government of the people and to make America healthy again.
I've been having a lot of interesting discussions with you, sometimes online, messenger, notifications on my X feed at Randy Tobler MD, sometimes face-to-face, about the RFK and the Tulsi Gabbard influences on the Trump campaign, the MAGA movement, conservatism in general, and how you process it. You know, there are people that say very, very valid criticisms that say, you know, this is going to push the conservative movement to the center because they are sort of left, of course. But I don't know. I think of them more as libertarian, more classical libertarian than I do the modern Democrat Party. I mean, that's why they left the Democrat Party after all, isn't it? I mean, they've said so, Tulsi and RFK. You heard my interview with Tulsi Gabbard earlier this year. We played it, and haven't had a chance to interview RFK Jr. But I mean, I've got half a mind, Jerome, of writing a handwritten letter to RFK Jr. saying that if he becomes a soldier in the drain the swamp army of Donald Trump, should he be elected, I'd like to be a part of that in some way, shape, or form, to talk about recreating and reimagining healthcare in this country. Not in an Obamacare, one size fits all. You can't see a doctor for 6 weeks. Doctors are jumping off board. When they do see you, they're buried in all their computers, and it's all about clicking the boxes. And it's not the doctor's fault. It's the system's fault. Many of them do a great job despite that, and they find ways to still serve patients well, but access is limited at a minimum. It's really compromised care. Personal choice has gone out because of consolidation. We now have 3 big insurers, And we have what, 2 or 3 big pharmacy benefit managing companies, PBMs. It's reported on the news this morning that they're being, I think, sued by, I don't know, are they being investigated by a federal agency, I believe? Yeah, I think DOJ is looking at them for antitrust violations when it comes to insulin prices. And there's this big curtain that the PBMs have in front of their operations that they're getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies to exclusively put that on their formulary that then they sell to the companies that are buying their insurance for their employees and say, this is your only choice. When in the background, there are other choices, but the PBM is getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical company. And now some of the laws, I think, in the states and in, federally are going to try to mandate that they do that. But I just, this consolidation of power within a few tech companies, healthcare companies, then that translates to tremendous lobbying, tremendous political campaign contributions for certain candidates who then, feed back in many ways and kick back in many ways. They're legal, but they're not ethical. When they're told by industry A, which is only represented by 3 companies and the lobbyists, therefore, you really need to, I can tell you in the healthcare industry, there are several direct primary care doctors in St. Louis. I happen to be, my office is in Columbia, but I do, I have patients come and see me from St. Louis, and we do a lot of business remotely as well. But the direct primary care movement is under siege by the big companies and the big healthcare machine. This is a perfect example of where competition and innovation is being squelched out by the big concerns. So I can speak to it very seriously. What they tell the government, I've asked people who've been in the DPC movement for 10 years, because it's been around for 10, 15 years now, 12 maybe. Say, what's the impediment to people paying a monthly membership, getting great primary care, keeping people out of the emergency room, out of the hospital, because they're getting good fundamental basic care and a relationship that then influences the way they eat, the way they move, the way they sleep. We take care of things at the pre-disease level or the early disease level, so it doesn't turn into a significant high disease level. And there's data to support that. Okay. Do you know what but we don't deal with insurance companies. We don't send a claim to them. And they can't take a big chunk out of your additional cash in addition to your premium through co-pays and co-insurance. And they can't ration your care because you're just getting care because you need care and you agree with your doctor to get care. Tests that they may not think are medically necessary, but may be medically instructive or helpful. I'm told that what the lobbyists are telling the Center for Medicare and Medicare Services is, these doctors don't participate in our quality programs. And therefore they're not sending us data on, how good or badly they're taking care. We don't know how they're taking care of patients. We can't keep an eye on them for you, Medicare. And after all, we're there looking out for the patient. And they're saying the same thing. And the insurance companies are saying the same thing to the legislators so that they keep throwing up roadblocks to having independent medical care that you own. You're paying the doctor just like you pay the tire guy or the bakery or your plumber. And that's a microcosm of what's going on in America. Conglomerates, big corporations control the regulations that squelch out innovation and disruptive innovation, which is what changes the world. And that's what RFK wants to squelch out. I don't know how successful he can be. These things are so entrenched. Look at what happened to Donald Trump. He knew there was corruption in the intelligence area and in the domestic intelligence area with the FBI. They went after him. Chuck Schumer said they'd go after him. He told Meet the Depressed, Trump better watch out. When you criticize them, they know how to get you. And they did. So I don't know. I'm heartened by the fact that vocal, influential people like Tulsi Gabbard, like RFK, that speak authentically. I think RFK's got it wrong when it comes to vaccines. And by the way, I don't think he's an all vaccine anti-vaxxer. He's an anti-COVID vaxxer. And there may be some reason for some people to get the COVID vaccine. I personally don't think that it's the right thing for everyone. You should talk with your doc about that. I think people that have demonized all vaccines because of the experience with COVID, where it was rolled out quickly, was very helpful for a lot of people. It really was. But it harmed a lot of people. And in the din of war, there's collateral damage. I think that's the way I would explain this. This was a war against the Wuhan, China virus, and people got caught in the crossfire. But that's a separate discussion. But it's maybe a pertinent discussion because the likes of Pfizer and, the Bill Gates's operation, they had a lot to say about that, and they were very influential. And by the way, there was a big commitment to building the infrastructure and development of those that then turns into a promise, right? So I think that I am heartened, I guess, net about the RFK and the Tulsi Gabbard thing. I am worried about America becoming too isolationist under their guidance. I think America has a place as being the big brother in the world. I don't think we need to be fighting everyone's fights like a big brother would, but sometimes just being around, standing around on the playground when there's a bully wanting to get the little brother and go after him. It's good to have a big brother there. Maybe Jerome hanging out there. If there's someone threatening me at the bar down on Soulard or in the Del Mar Loop, I want Jerome standing in the corner saying, "Yeah, I know Randy. He's my buddy." No one's going to mess with Jerome, right?
Yeah, don't worry. I got your back.
So where do you calibrate the RFK and Gabbard infusion into the campaign? You think it's worthless, meaningless, helpful? Where do you stand, Jerome?
So I've been reflecting a lot on this, and I know a lot of people after the Tim Crooks tried to take a shot at Trump. A lot of people were saying, Trump took a bullet for democracy, but RFK comes from a family that literally were killed for standing up for our country. And so I think when it comes to, and again, I'm a former Democrat, so I used to buy into a lot of the ideology, and then I left all that in Illinois. But I think that if people are focused more on a former party affiliation rather than the actions and deeds and corrections that people make, then it's almost like you can't have your way on everything. I think that RFK is a great addition to the Trump camp and the Make America Great Again camp, America First camp. I think Tulsi Gabbard, especially, I mean, you know how big of a fan I am of hers.
Yeah.
Now that, especially since she left some of her more radically leftist ideologies behind when she left the DNC. So I think that we should be welcoming and we should be doing what we can to say, you know what, are we conservative because we believe all the same things, or are we conservative because we want to conserve our nation? We want to conserve our representative, our republic. Are we conservative because we care about our rights and our liberties and our individualism and our ability to make decisions for ourselves? And if the answer is no to all that, then why don't you go vote for Kamala? Because she does not respect any of that. There's a reason why two of the people that have some of the most have the great track record of having integrity, even if their beliefs are different, they have great integrity, and their track record proves that they have been trying to serve this country since they've gotten into office, have jumped over to back Trump. And they say, you know what, I was wrong about him, and I believe in him, and I want to do what I can. And this is the best opportunity we have to fix this country. And there's a reason why all these, what are called, I guess, rhinos, or what I would call celebrity Republicans, that go on and they co-host The View, or they write a scathing book about Trump, and that has to be fact-checked by people that were actually there, are the ones that are then switching over and supporting Kamala. So I wish people would be a little bit more welcoming and give them a chance. And again, I don't agree with everything that any of our politicians anywhere. I mean, there's just no way. There's always going to be something that somebody has that you're going to disagree with, but we need to look at the net positive versus the net negative. And both RFK and Tulsi have net positives being on our side.
You sound like Ronald Reagan, right? If you can get 80% of what you're after, that's a good day in American politics. Now, Lisa Dobb, I can't see the rest of it, tells us that that RFK is not anti-vax. He's anti too many vaxes. And I think that's right. And by the way, I am not a fan of the current schedule of pediatric vaccinations when it is too many at a time. I mean, I just think that the inflammatory response there is troubling for some children. I'm concerned about that. But you know why that happens? It's because parents, I'm not gaslighting anyone here, but parents may not get those vaccines for the kids. When it comes to vaccines, I was really troubled. There's a nationally recognized podcaster. He's not in the first tier, but he's nationally recognized. I think he's on the Blaze Network. I catch his podcast now and then. I heard one of the guys that's on the show with him was just really demonizing the whole medical community and doctors that do, follow some well-established, very effective protocols for treating various things. And talking about doctors as shamans in white coats and how they're foisting these vaccines on kids. Well, trust me, from a guy who has practiced in areas in remote rural Missouri and aware of things in southeastern Iowa and south central Iowa, where large swaths of communities of people like the Amish and sometimes the Mennonites did not get vaccinated. And there were outbreaks of pertussis, that's whooping cough, diphtheria, measles, mumps. And these things can be deadly for children. They really can. Mumps can sterilize a boy. I mean, they can cause mumps orchitis, which can really result in infertility. So, look, vaccines have a place. And, I guess I have to sort out RFK's stance on that. I know he is not anti-all vaccine. Marty Macri has just come out with a book on how the medical establishment got a lot of things wrong. Think of peanut allergies. I think it may have evolved from, I haven't been able to read his book, but we know that, a decade or two ago, maybe 15 years ago, it came out that, you shouldn't give your kid peanut butter for 3 years, first 3 or 4 years, because we have, the peanut allergies. Well, it probably started with don't ever give a youngster a peanut because they can aspirate it. And, the paranoia over introducing new things into a young kid's, that is so wrong. I mean, it's been proven over and over that the immune system needs to be trained. The immune system comes out sort of like a naked etch-a-sketch, right? And you need to draw the immune picture for it and expose it to different immune bends and turns. And you need the different exposures to different challenges. That's how the immune system learns and then becomes tolerant to those challenges and can beat them if it becomes an allergic situation. But he talks about that. Look, the medical establishment has gotten things wrong, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's really a concern. Coming this flu season, I've been encouraging patients. Most folks don't want to get the COVID-19. I don't really encourage it for most folks. You will get sick if you get COVID. I have patients calling me all the time. They're sick, but it's a bad cold for the majority of them. I do encourage everyone to get an influenza vaccine, because if you get COVID and you get influenza at the same time, you're going to be a very, very sick pup. And if you have any underlying conditions, it might land you in the hospital or worse. Because while these are viral infections, they damage your lungs, your respiratory tract, and you could get a superimposed bacterial infection, which could be devastating. And the ramifications of the lung damage could go on and on and on for years. So that's my advice to you. Get a flu vaccine at least. They've been out there for decades and decades. Your papa and mama's flu vaccine is not Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. All right, when we step aside, let's come back and talk about the Harris-Biden team and how they are doing an end around the border crossings. Oh, yeah, let's talk a little border when we come back on the Tobler Show. News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
I hear the drums echoing tonight, and she hears only whispers of some quiet conversation.
where callers won't be canceled.
It's just so ridiculous and so offensive.
And we don't socially distance from differing opinions.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I haven't always agreed with you.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
This country is worth fighting for.
That's why we're canceling those season tickets. That's why we're canceling those subscriptions.
I'm just so sick and tired of it.
Disgust us.
It's insanity, man.
This is News Talk STL.
Attention food lovers. Craving authentic kosher cuisine? Head to Nate's Kosher Deli in the heart of Creve Coeur's culinary scene. Formerly Cones, Nate's is now under new ownership, offering an even greater selection of kosher items, from mouth-watering sandwiches to gourmet meats and fresh-baked goods. There's something for everyone. Call 314-333-6283 or visit nateskosherdeli.com. Experience the difference at Nate's Kosher Deli today. And don't forget to mention News Talk STL sent you.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of three places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now! With Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors. From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
One of the greatest pleasures in life is giving something special to someone just because. Vincent's Jewelers can help you. And you should know that Vincent's has raised almost $2 million for local charities. Vincent's Jewelers, St. Louis's premier full-service, locally owned jewelry store. Check Vincent's Facebook every day. You'll find new items. Vincent's.com. Vincent's.com. Vincent's, my only jeweler.
Hey, Colombo here for the great team at All Solutions Pest Control. We've been using pest control services at our home for years, and the results we've had with All Solutions are second to none. So if you're experiencing a pest problem, or more importantly, want to prevent a problem, All Solutions Pest Control are the ones to call. Right now, you can take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer. Learn more and contact them now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Where you've heard about love and giving sight to the blind. My baby loving cause the sun to shine, and she my sweet little thing. She my pride and joy.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. Come hang out with Ken Williams and me every Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. But right now, it's back to the Randy Tobler Show on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I actually was the one who convinced the mayor to make it a mandate.
Like New York City found out that you were having sex parties during COVID?
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been real dark. We went to some like underground like dance party like underneath the bank in Wall Street. And we were all rolling, we were all taking Molly, and everyone was high. And I was so happy because I hadn't done that in like a year and a half, like a year or whatever. And but I was looking around being like, I wonder if he sees you, they're gonna do it. Because this was not covered. The only way I could do this job for the city was if I had some way to blow off steam every now and then.
So that was a quick excerpt from what has been referred to as the COVID czar. And to be honest, I'm kind of getting a little tired of everybody being called the czar that has a role of responsibility. But talking about during COVID, now this is somebody that was supposed to be enforcing COVID regulations and was part of that team, was talking about how they were engaging in sex parties and drugs and all those sort of behaviors. And so while we fix a minor, the gremlins got us again today. So while we work on that, just to reiterate what we were talking about before we went to break, there is a lot of credibility that has been lost since the pandemic started because not only of the panicking and not only because of the poorly executed emergency response. And now I understand because I'm, a younger guy. I'm not a medical professional. That's Dr. Tobler, of course. But for me, going through that and being a college student at the time, I understand that when something starts spreading so rapidly and new developments and the understanding of what's going on start to develop, the instinct is we need to try to do everything we can to stop it from spreading, to prevent as many deaths as possible. And unfortunately, I don't think that all of it was done in our best interest. If you remember how many politicians were catching COVID because they were enforcing mask mandates that did not apply to them, apparently, at their dinner parties and at their outdoor gatherings, but applied for the rest of us. So when we're reading some of these comments from the stream, it seems like that's the general attitude that many people feel. It's a difficult thing to go through and to think rationally and clearly about it. But at the same time, I was absolutely blown away to find out that Dr. Fauci said that the masks in the beginning were not really working because they didn't have a high enough thread count. Most of the ones that people were wearing did not have a high enough thread count to actually stop the particles because of how small the virus was. So when people were sneezing, coughing, if they were speaking too much and moisture droplets were coming out, there was a chance that it was being spread despite people wearing masks. And then it came to during one of his congressional hearings that they actually had pulled out the social distancing, the 6-foot rule, based on no evidence. It was basically just a hunch for them. And I think a lot of us now are mad still that we were put on lockdown. And I'm not denying, I lost a friend of mine who was diabetic to COVID because somebody in his household actually brought it, home. And of course, people with, underlying conditions and that were predisposed to different things ended up being the most susceptible to it. And on the other hand, though, people that were taking care of themselves, people that were working out, that had been taking vitamins and nutrients, that were living healthier lifestyles, were not as affected by it. And I know there's a lot of resentment from us because why are we being punished for people that cannot make those same decisions? So while we figure out what's going on with Dr. Tobler, the gremlins I think he's fighting the gremlins right now. I just want to reiterate that is why I really would like for conservatives and Republicans and anybody else that is an actual supporter of Trump, that is an actual believer in making America great and putting our country first and putting our best interests at the center of the political stage, to be more accepting of people like RFK, because there are going to be things that he has said or done or believes that we're not all going to see eye to eye on. But this is not the time for semantics. This is not the time for us to worry about if we're becoming too left, too right, too center, whatever the case is. This is the time where we need to say, am I willing to put aside some of my convictions and work with somebody that might have different convictions, but we have the same overall goals? And I'm not telling people to put their convictions aside as in, if you're a pro-life Christian conservative, that you need to be okay with abortion, because that is not at all what I'm trying to imply here. What I'm saying, though, is that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And with what we're against right now, with Kamala and what she's allowing and what has been going on for the past 3.5 years, our options are to continue that. And I would go so far as to say I believe firmly that she will get a second term if she's elected. That's just the way some of these things go. If she gets into office, the next 4 to 8 years are going to look just like they have for the past 3.5 years. And that's what disappointed me with what I'm seeing online as well, is that a lot of people that are pro-life are mad because Trump said that it should be a state issue, that he's not going to institute a national ban on abortion. He's not going to have any sort of influence on that. And now they're saying, well, I'm not going to vote, or I'm going to vote DeSantis, or I'm going to support somebody else. Well, Kamala is on record with saying that she supports abortion past 20 weeks. She believes in unrestricted access to abortion, that she wants to immediately implement Roe v. Wade again. So are you really willing to say that you are pro-life, and yet you're going to essentially allow somebody that is pro-death to take office and implement everything that you stand against? Are you really willing to say, look, I disagree with some of what Tulsi said back in 2016. I disagree that she was a Democrat and we need to have stronger conservatives. Well, the way that you win these people over, and this is what I think Trump has done a really good job of up until recently. Now, I will say that I think Elon giving him access to Twitter has done him some negative, because as we all know, sometimes he goes on these tangents and he just, doesn't know when to not speak his mind. But one of the things he has done phenomenally well is that he's able to look at these people that have admitted that they were wrong about him and to put aside their differences and say, you are the right person. You have to remember, this is a guy that's been a businessman since before I was alive. This is a guy that knows how to hire people, how to vet people, how to screen people, how to make these decisions. And he's saying, you were against me. You were my opponent. You may have been on the other side, and yet you are qualified, that I'm willing to work with you. I see something in you that I'm willing to have my name associated with, that I'm willing to have you on my team. I'm willing to put aside our differences because we both believe in what's best for the country. Now, the caveat is putting him in the right positions. RFK, personally, I think it would be awesome if he could become the head of the director of the CIA. I think we would get all the JFK files. I think we'd know about the aliens if they exist. I think it'd be fantastic, but more likely than not, putting him in a position to be in charge of healthcare, to be able to stop all this nonsense that's going on with these inflated prices, to call out these practices. I mean, Pfizer, prior to COVID, had the largest medical fraud lawsuit in American history for fraudulently making claims about medications that they knew were ineffective. That needs to stop. Tulsi Gabbard is a very strong military record. She actually was deployed twice. She won multiple service medals. She has done what is needed to be done to serve the country. And you know what she's doing right now? She's on a no-fly list because she spoke out against Kamala Harris, and she called it during the interview. She said, watch, after this interview, I'm going to be put on some kind of watch, or there's going to be some form of retaliation. Guess what happened? Now she's on the Quiet Skies terrorist watch list, where she has to get special security screening every time she goes to an airport to make sure she's not a quote-unquote threat. They lied about her going to Russia and being a Russian asset. If these people did not care about our nation, if they were not willing to work with us, if they did not have the same core beliefs of this chaos, this lunacy needs to end, and we cannot allow it to stay in office right now, why would they work with people like Trump, like conservatives that may be bad-mouthing them? Why are they willing to risk their entire reputation? Because I guarantee you, if RFK and Tulsi Gabbard had both stayed in the DNC and just kept their heads down, kept their mouth shut, just ran on the reputation, they would probably have a very cushiony, easygoing. They would collect their paychecks. They wouldn't really have to do a whole lot. All you'd have to do is run on the fact that she was a military veteran and that he's a Kennedy. They gave all that up so that they could come join us in the fight.
And that's a little bit of what you'll hear in the next couple weeks when Jerome anchors the program, because I'm going to be abroad. I'm going to be overseas, and we'll be checking in probably. And Jerome heroically came off the bench as I had some technical difficulties there, and ably handled that. Nice monologue there, Jerome. Great job. I like that.
I learned from the best, Dr. Tobler.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Not really. I'm just really privileged to work with Mr. Jerome. So I know you're putting together a couple of great shows for the next couple of weeks. Hey, so I think you're absolutely right on. It is a changing time in America. It's a changing dynamic in what is defined as conservative. Certainly, the word progressive has become absolutely just mangled and bastardized by the left. I mean, I think we all would like to think that, yeah, it's really progressive to go from a bag phone to, you know, basically a supercomputer in your hand, the size of, what is it, 8x10 card or less, a 3x5 card. And so there's a lot to be said about that. On the other hand, I didn't catch all of it as I was struggling to get the technology back up here. But we do have to also ask the question, we talk about the infusion of Tulsi and RFK Jr. into the party and how I think net it widens the tent. And it's a good thing because while you may not agree with everything, the conversation is good. And you know what? They're authentic. At least they're authentic.
Amen.
At least if I'm sitting across the table from someone that I disagree with, I'd rather have it be Bernie Sanders than Kamala Harris. Because I know Bernie Sanders is unabashed about where he stands. Okay, we can have a discussion. All right. But by the same token, I think if we're going to celebrate authenticity, knowing where the other person or the other party or the other ideology or the other policy group stands, we ought to call out our own when they're not adhering to what they claim and what we endorse as their policy. And stance number one, exhibit number one in this, if I'm, the prosecutor in this case, is Donald Trump. I mean, he is not truly a traditional conservative. I mean, if you think about it, he wants to mandate, the government's going to mandate that an in vitro fertilization benefit should be a part of every insurance policy. Jerome, I don't know, you're not married yet. You got a girlfriend, right?
Yes, I do.
But let's say you didn't have a girlfriend. Well, even if you do, I mean, do you want to be paying for everyone else's in vitro fertilization? Probably not any more than you want to be paying for their colon cancer screening, because you're not there yet.
Yeah, I struggle with that as well. In terms of, I am compassionate about stuff, but I feel like there should be maybe a public fund, like a voluntary. If you care about this issue, you can donate to it. I don't think it should be a mandatory. We're going to take your taxes and apply to that.
Right. No, that's the point. This is not, and of course, that's what the left says. If you're against, I'm against. Look, I was against smoking bans and I remain against smoking bans in all but public facilities where you have to go. You have to go to a courtroom. You have to go to City Hall if you want to pay your taxes or if you want to register to vote. That I get, but in privately owned establishments, I disagree with it. I mean, yes, is smoking terrible for your health? Absolutely. But there's a lot of, look, if we're going to ban smoking, then we should ban donuts and cinnamon rolls and latte, pumpkin spice lattes that have, 8,000 calories for a 12-ounce serving, because that's bad for you. And diabetes is raging, and diabetes results in amputations and blindness and kidney failure and heart disease. So let's ban that too. I mean, where does it end? And I just think we need to be careful about these mandates. And then he wants, no taxes on tips. We've talked about that. Well, wait a minute. I don't know. Isn't that revenue? Revenue. I thought we paid on our income. Now, no taxes on overtime. I think these kind of mandates are not healthy. They're not conservative. They're not market driven, and they're pandering to particular constituencies. I always worry about that. The American people at large should be a constituency left to their own devices to cut contracts and to do business with whom they want to. It's the government's job. It's the government's job to protect and litigate those contracts and enforce them. Not much more. When we come back, Virginia Kruta on the Tobler Show, News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
#1 for live and local conservative talk.
They cover the important stories.
They're not going to stop Trump.
Close the border now.
It just makes sense. 101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
You can't get food like this in Paris. Bring the family for breakfast and brunch to Nadine's Hash House, offering home-style cooked meals the way your mother made them. Try the savory Southside Slinger, the cinnamon streusel pancakes, or Nadine's famous hash. Make sure to follow Nadine's Hash House on Facebook for weekly specials. Open today from 7 till 1:30 in Soulard on Broadway. Nadine's Hash House. You can't get food like this in Paris. Nadine'sHashHouse.com.
Hey, Columbo here for the cleaning pros at Zero Res. September in St. Louis means back to school, football parties, and barbecue season, which means things can get real messy real fast. And that's why Zero Res wants to help you out with this great offer. Book a cleaning in September and mention the Columbo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Just mention the Columbo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
As the daughter of an OBGYN, I learned from a young age that no topic is too taboo for discussion at the dinner table. This family-centered, transparent approach to health and wellness that my dad, you may know him as Dr. Randy Tobler, created for my siblings and I, is what we strive to deliver to our patients at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Sammy Tobler Gregory with Body of Health, where relationships matter. Come learn about healthcare the way it ought to be and schedule your free discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Tim Jones here. I want to tell you about an awesome business located in my hometown of Eureka, Missouri that we use all the time for our exterior homestead needs. Eureka Contracting and Roofing. Veteran owned. They will come to you and schedule a one-on-one consultation. They know that replacing your roof or anything on the exterior of your home is always a really big deal, which is why they've always got a no pressure, no obligation inspection and evaluation. Fully licensed and insured. Nothing but the highest quality of materials made right here in the USA. 636-938-ROOF. 636-938-ROOF. EurekaContracting.com. That's EurekaContracting.com.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and check out all their products and services at oldtowncountry.store.com.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Well, some members of the advance team were very diligent. There was complacency on the part of others that led to a breach of security protocols. With respect to accountability, the Mission Assurance Review has identified deficiencies in the advanced planning and its implementation by Secret Service personnel. These employees will be held accountable, and this agency has among the most robust table of penalties in the entirety of the federal government.
Well, that was the Secret Service Director Rowe on complacency and incompetence and just basically some serious underperformance that almost led to a very, very public and televised assassination of former President Trump. Joining us now, Virginia Kruta. We love to touch base with Virginia every week and chat about the goings on in our world. Are you satisfied that the needed changes will occur based on what you've heard during that testimony yesterday, Virginia?
Oh my goodness. First of all, we admit that there were some failures. Well, no kidding. I mean, we're kind of at the point where we all know there have been failures. Can we just get to the part where we fix them? So, yeah. I don't know what to expect. The impression, the overall impression that I'm getting is not that, and I'm not going to get all conspiratorial and say that, somebody's actively trying to get the former president killed, but they're sure not doing a whole lot to stop it from happening. That's kind of the impression that I'm getting, that it's like, oh, well, if we happen to be able to stop the next attempt, then so be it. But, if we can't, oh well. That seems to be the approach right here. And it's like, so every time, this is the United States Secret Service, right? And they've been protecting presidents for how long? Over 100 years? You would think that it would take not even one attempt for them to think, okay, maybe we should take our job seriously. But once there is one attempt, should we really ever have this conversation again? Especially when it's something so obvious as like, oh, wait, there's a hole in the fence line and we knew that this vulnerability was here. If you saw, Josh Hawley had a whistleblower testimony, and it was, he sent a letter to the Secret Service just late last week about it, saying, hey, they knew that there were holes in this fence line. They are typically supposed to put an agent on this hole. Like, not the hole in the golf course. I realize it's confusing, but there's an area on the fence line where they knew somebody could get a clear shot onto the golf course, right? And so they're talking about, did they put somebody there to make sure it didn't happen? And the answer to that question, according to the whistleblowers, no, they didn't. So why didn't they? And especially if they knew that this happened, especially if we're talking about, 8 weeks since the last time something like this happened. So, it kind of boggles the mind that we're at this point where we have to ask, did they do everything that they should have done? When that is 100% of their job, the people who are on this detail. So,
well, and Virginia, that raises the question: is it really 100% of the mindset, the ideology, the multiple missions that I think leadership throughout the leftist regime of Biden, Harris, and I think a large part of bureaucracy in DC, I think they've lost some of their focus, because I understand a lot of what they're about is DEI up there, like every other agency that the left has infiltrated. So they've been, on several levels, they're off their mark, aren't they, at the Secret Service?
Well, yeah, but I hesitate because I haven't heard as much about what's going on in the Secret Service as not. Though I do know that the former director had a stated specific goal of making the Secret Service on the ground like 30% female. I have a problem with that no matter what the job is.
Yeah.
Like I don't like quotas because they open the door for lowered standards. And if that's what's happening, then that's a major problem. That's a different problem. But what I think is happening is complacency, where we've gone so many years without somebody taking a shot at a former president or a current president that they don't think about. It's kind of like Reagan said, freedom is only one generation from extinction, right? Well, we are more than a generation from the last serious attempt on a president's life. We're talking about when Reagan was shot in 1980. Half of the Secret Service agents protecting Trump were probably not born when that happened, because we're talking about something that happened 40 years ago. Some of these agents are too young to remember the last time that this happened. And so it's a formality that we might have to actually protect the president with our lives rather than an everyday reality. And they're suddenly being thrown into this reality now. And I don't know, maybe it's a learning curve, but it better be steep or we're going to have, we're going to have some serious problems.
Sadly. Hey, I want to play something for you from the Kamala Harris appearance with Oprah Winfrey the other day and get your response.
We are an optimistic people. We are an optimistic people. Americans, by character, are people who have dreams and ambitions and aspirations. We believe in what is possible. We believe in what can be. And we believe in fighting for that. That's how we came into being, because the people before us understood that one of the greatest expressions for the love of our country, one of the greatest expressions of patriotism, is to fight for the ideals of who we are.
Virginia, your thoughts?
Why does she always sound like she's talking to preschoolers?
I don't know. You're right. Hey, but okay.
I mean, if somebody talked to me like that, I'd be like, dude, come on. Like, can we use grown-up words, please?
Yeah.
Okay. And I thought you were going to play the part about the guns, because that was funnier.
No.
But
okay. I want to place. So what do you think about? Why is it that seems to be resonating when you hear some of the conversations in that room with people, the response to some of her comments, the people, the throngs that are so enthusiastic? What is it about that? There must be something about that false passion that is creating the vibe around her. What is it? We have about a minute left, minute and a half.
Well, I don't know that there is a vibe around her so much as the media is telling us that there's a vibe around her. Because it was, I think Nevada has not voted for a Republican for president since 2004, George W. Bush. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And a CBS field reporter went to a bunch of restaurants in Nevada, including one in Las Vegas, because Nevada is supposed to be a swing state this year. And every place she went, she struggled to find one person who would speak positively about Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
So I think that the vibe is manufactured, just like Kamala Harris is.
I don't know. I can only hope so. Now I'm going to just play something as we go out here.
People won't vote for her because she's not Trump. You're going to have a lot of people who do that anyway, whether they feel the vibe or not.
Yeah. So you think it's more of a not Trump thing than anything else?
I think that yes, I do. I think that they have done, and they've tried their goal. Their stated goal, this is from one of her campaign people, was saying, look, her actual goal here is to turn Trump into an incumbent so that she can run against him, and the media is helping her do it.
Yeah.
The reality is she's the incumbent, and for the last 3.5 years, what the heck was she doing?
All right. Well, hey, thank you for being with me. Really appreciate it, Virginia. We'll talk to you next week. Great spot. Hey, let's play. There's another person a few decades ago that really hit the mark. Talk about Ramblin' Kamala. Let's talk about that. Go ahead and play some of that going out here. Jerome, let's play. Here we go.
Hey, this guy's good. I'm a rambling guy. Well, I'm rambling round. I'm a rambling guy. Freak. Ramble out to the Muppet Show. Oh yeah, meet all the Muppets. Oh yes, 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 oh yes. Oh no, rambling. Everybody whistle. All right, in Chinese now. Well, I'm rambling.
St. Louis's home of the Dan Bongino Show.
Liberals seem to revel in your pain and enjoy it. If you doubt any of this, which you should, doubt is a healthy thing because it only increases the authenticity of the show when you go and back it up and do your own research. Go to True Social or Twitter and just look at the comments by the liberals.
Dan Bongino.
Yeah, you'll get people on the other side who say nasty things too. But I'm telling you, it is way more pervasive on the left.
Weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
Are you ready to stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, and enjoy tasty barbecue? Don't miss the 4th annual Missouri Young Republicans Freedom Fest Barbecue. Join us Saturday, October 12th at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters in Fenton. We've got an exciting lineup of invited speakers and mouthwatering barbecue. RSVP now at stlyrs.com. That's stlyrs.com. Presented by News Talk STL and Missouri Young Republicans.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Pat Fader of Comprehensive Chiropractic. Doc, I hear you all have a new treatment program for everyone's chronic knee pain.
Tim, that's right. We are helping patients with chronic knee pain by addressing the root cause of their condition.
And what makes your program so unique?
Well, Tim, many programs focus on just one component of the problem, the structural component. Our program focuses on the metabolic and neurological component to complete the picture and improve our patients' outcomes. We get to the root cause of what is driving inflammation in a person's body and address it directly.
For your chronic knee pain and more, visit cchiropractic.com. All information, make an appointment at cchiropractic.com.
History, wine, spirits, food, and music, plus an awesome name. That's the Old House in Hog Hollow. This beautiful historic home's been turned into a wine bar and event venue that can host any and all of your gatherings. Take a tour while enjoying a glass of wine and see all the original features that are still around from the 1850s. Open Thursday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and brunch, with live music on select dates paired with wine tasting. Find them at 14319 Olive Boulevard in Chesterfield or online at oldhouseinhoghollow.com.
No. Is your computer giving you headaches? Make it happy again.
HD3 Clay, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Beirut suburb Friday has claimed the life of Ibrahim Akil. That's a Hezbollah commander who was in charge of the group's elite Radwan forces. The BBC's Peter Bachenga files this report addressing the ongoing tension.
Hezbollah doesn't have many options to give a substantive response without sparking a major war with Israel. And we've seen that Hezbollah has given indications that it doesn't want a major confrontation with Israel. And obviously, this is a group that is supported by Iran.
Hezbollah has launched its own war against Israel, launching thousands of rockets into the Jewish state ever since Israel was attacked by Hamas last October. Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent predicts a Trump election victory this year would lead once again to European countries spending more on their own defense, easing the burden on the United States.
And it was precisely because he reminded them that alliances are a two-way street and that they're the ones who have the most on the line to spend money in order to defend Europe. It was a perfectly common sense thing to do.
Senator Talent was interviewed this week on the Salem Radio Network. Whether it's because of climate change or just because it's late summer, early fall, the beginning of the high school football season has seen a string of deaths this year. Players most at risk, they say, in the late summer months of August and September, of suffering heat-related illnesses that can be due to searing temperatures and also lingering high humidity. Amando Dingle is an athletic trainer at a high school in Baton Rouge.
We are taking care of someone's most prized possession, and we have to come in every day thinking that, and that's our number one priority.
58 players have died from exertional heat stroke between the years 1992 and this year, and thousands more are sickened every year. More of these stories at townhall.com.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again, it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free. And for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
President Biden busy this weekend hosting a weekend summit with the leaders of Australia, India, and Japan.
Known as
well, if it's time to sell the house, why don't you go with the realty team that already has home buyers who are approved and could buy your house right now? That would be the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. Two great folks, Rodney and Jen Wallner, who happen to sell 15 times more homes per year than your typical realtor. And besides the husband and wife perspective that you get, you can also do it in Missouri or Illinois. Just call 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Well, Vic, you're absolutely right, of course. I mean, here's my challenge. Just give them a call. Say, hey, Mike Ferguson was talking about you guys. Call Rodney and Jen, 314-810-SOLD, because when you are making a decision on something as crucial as your home, as crucial as real estate, you want people who know what they're doing, but you want people who are ethical, easy to work with, and focus on empowering you to make the best decision. Give them a call, 314-810-SOLD.
Tim Jones here for AMF Electric, in business since 1965, offering a full line of industrial, commercial, residential, electrical, and system services. AMF is a merit shop. They work successfully for all owners who favor freedom of economic choice. Yes, even on other AFL trades jobs. At AMF Electric, they're unabashedly pro-American. Call them, 314-647-4066. Online, amfelectric.com. That's amfelectric.com.
I'm so tired of my water smelling like rotten eggs, iron-bound. It makes my clothes and home smell, and my sink and faucet look dirty. I'm calling Jones Air and Water Treatment for their solution to this pollution.
Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to your pollution. Call now for your free water analysis at 636-899-1040 and live with clean, great-tasting water. That's 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, want to amaze your friends when they visit? They will be impressed when they see your custom-made drapes, blinds, or shutters. Michael Proctor will personally help you pick out the correct colors to truly showcase your home. Then he will actually design and personally install everything. No overhead markup. That's going to save you a lot of money on drapes, blinds, or shutters.
Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
Thank God for the daylight. I spent a long time in the dark. Felt good saying goodbye. Waking up to a brand new heart. And if you're sleeping like I used to be, in a grave that holds you tight, there's a savior calling, promising a brand new life. He's saying, wake up, sleeper, open your eyes.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer. On News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
Sonic booms of Israeli warplanes rang out over Beirut on Thursday as the jets carried out Israel's most intense strikes on southern Lebanon in nearly a year late on Thursday. The strikes escalated tension between Israel and Hezbollah while the US and UK call for restraint. Britain has called for an immediate ceasefire, and White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre told a briefing diplomacy was still achievable.
The gremlins are striking again. Hey, Doc, if you can hear me, check your microphone, please. In the meantime, we are going to be joined here by Walid Phares, who is a expert on what's going on in the Middle East right now. Thank you so much for being part of our show today. While we try to get Dr. Tobler back, could you give us a little bit of context for what we're seeing right now regarding Israel and the Hezbollah and what's going on in Lebanon?
Well, as we all know, this war didn't start last week. It started on October 8th on the northern front of Israel, southern front of Lebanon, when Hezbollah decided to go and be the ally of Hamas and start bombarding Israel. It took almost a year now, it's going to be a year soon, for Hezbollah to understand that at the end of the day, the Israelis are not going to allow Hezbollah to approach Israeli territories. And that's exactly what these commanders that were eliminated by Israel intended on doing, moving inside the Galilee, the northern part of the Galilee, seizing civilians exactly as Hamas has done, taking them up to southern Lebanon, and then putting pressure on the Israelis. So the Israelis at this point in time, last week, preempted by launching a series of electronic attacks. And the world has known that since as the beeper attack or the pager attack that eliminated a large number of Hezbollah operatives.
Dr. Walid Phares joins us. Sorry, we had a little problem with the technology, Walid. And just to reset here, Walid is, of course, an internationally recognized expert in Middle East and other foreign policy. His series of in-depth analyses into the Middle East, and especially the travesty of the jihadist networks, started with the book Future Jihad in 2005, and the latest book, Iran, an Imperialist Republic and U.S. Policy, in 2023, published then. And he joins us, of course, an former advisor to Donald Trump, and he's advised Congress and so forth. Walid, people in the West keep talking about escalation? How can Israel do this? Of course, the Harris, Biden, and all of their supporters on campuses, and some in Congress and others. What is the sentiment? I read on your Twitter feed that there's a different sentiment in the Middle East in terms of the calibration on who's right and who's wrong in the struggle between Hezbollah and Israel. Can you unpack that for us, please?
Absolutely. I tweeted a couple tweets about it. And it could be surprising to many here in America, but that's a different reality in the Middle East. First of all, within Lebanon, where Hezbollah is rooted and deployed, well, the audience needs to understand, at least since 2005, 70% of the Lebanese population is opposed to Hezbollah. 70%, the minimum. That includes the Christians, the Druze, and the Sunnis, and some Shia liberals. Some of them have been, the Shia liberals, targeted by Hezbollah itself. So there is a struggle within the community. But Hezbollah has the weapons, it has the control, it has the Islamic regime in Tehran supporting them. But the reality is, if you go online, you will find that many, many Lebanese do not want what Hezbollah is doing, wants it to be disarmed. Actually, there is a resolution at the United Nations since 2004. It's called 1559 that calls on all militias, including Hezbollah, to disarm. Hezbollah is in violation of international law. But more important, in my tweet, was the fact that I was reading and invited people to read, especially those who have skills in Arabic, but also in English. There are thousands and thousands, I wasn't able to count, of Syrian refugees from Syria who are blasting Hezbollah, and some of them in the dozens thanking Israel. Just think of it, Arab Sunnis, Arab, Shia, Arab Christians, and of course the Kurds and all their allies who were fighting and resisting Hezbollah. Why? They accuse Hezbollah of a genocide inside Syria. 500,000 Syrians have been killed. And we're talking about civilians, women, children, elderly, and people have completely forgotten that between 2011 till about recently, a few years ago, there was a civil war in Syria, and about 500,000 have been killed by the Assad regime and by Hezbollah. So now they're coming back and saying, even if they call it, quote unquote, even if it's the devil, thank you, Mr. Devil, for helping us get rid of Hezbollah. And that goes around the region, in Iraq, in Yemen, in many places. It's online, and we don't need even to explain it. It's there in English, in French, in Arabic as well, of course.
This was a remarkable bit of espionage pulled off by the IDF and, well, I guess was it Mossad, the IDF, working in concert. I mean, to get into the supply chain that would be distributed to the Hezbollah, terrorists, and really, I think, give more credibility to the notion, even though it's denied by the Jew haters, the Israel haters, that they are among the most selective and try to be the most specific in terms of their target warriors in on the planet. And I think they did this is another example of that I think really belies what others would say about just their indiscriminate genocide, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up this issue, because the propaganda of Hezbollah, of Hamas, of the Islamic regime in Iran is that Israel is performing a systematic genocide, like what happened in the Holocaust or what happened to the Armenian genocide. That's their accusation. And those who are accusing, basically, are the ones who have perpetrated genocide. In Syria, we just said, in Darfur, millions of people killed by jihadists. Against the Yazidis. I mean, a few years ago, you and I were discussing the Yazidis, how they were, completely eradicated from parts of Iraq. And now they're coming to accuse Israel. But the point that you made is very important. To me, this operation will go down in history as almost Mission Impossible. I mean, if your audience watches movies, obviously, this is of the grade of Mission Impossible. It was near impossible. Besides the results, and I mentioned it in my Twitter account, where that almost no civilians were harmed. I mean, there could be one or two, but we're talking about thousands of members of Hezbollah have been targeted, and then some were eliminated. Others are in the hospitals. The bottom line is that Israel has almost created a neutron bomb, in the sense that it would eliminate only the enemy, only those who are actually preparing, and the enemy that has been engaged in unprovoked attacks against the Israeli population, including that massacre against kids in Majd al-Shams in northern Israel, in the Galilee. And we saw the videos and the pictures of the horrors of the massacre of the kids on the football field. That was Hezbollah. So the Israelis are responding very systematically, but very selectively, as you just mentioned. And they actually showed the world how you can fight terrorism if you are attacked by terrorism.
Am I too optimistic when I may be thinking that there may be innocent civilians whose, quote, friends were in their open air market shopping at the little fruit table that had their parts blown off by one of these pagers or walkie-talkies going off, that maybe could this be a way of informing the everyday person in Lebanon who really doesn't know who's a terrorist and who isn't, that holy cow, my buddy was a terrorist. I didn't know that. I mean, I think that could be a collateral benefit, couldn't it?
Absolutely. I was just reading reports coming from NGOs from Lebanon, exactly mentioning what you have mentioned right now. Glad you brought it up as well. It has two effects in Lebanon. First of all, the civilian population through which the Hezbollah organize, carry their operations, they're shielded by this population. They saw in horror that they have neighbors, that they have mechanics, that they have people around them, member of Hezbollah special units, members of the suicide units, or the advanced and powerful Radwan unit. It's like a force that is equivalent to the SS during World War II. And that is going to have a ripple effect. It's going to slowly but gradually isolate the members of Hezbollah in their community. Of course, they are partisans, they are supporters, they are people who live off Hezbollah. But still, number one, they're going to be fearing that the next target will be them, so they're stepping aside. Second, they have the information that there are many Hezbollah among them. But look, the biggest or the most important reaction is going to be outside Hezbollah, but inside Lebanon. As I said, there are large areas of Lebanon where the population is opposed. And what the Israelis have done is a signal to that other population of Lebanon, which is the majority, by the way, which is unarmed, that Hezbollah is not God. The party of God is not really God, because the Israelis showed that they have a long arm that could punish the attackers. And that's going to lead to possibly an opposition movement among the majority in Lebanon to disarm Hezbollah. So it's not over in Lebanon. It's going to be long. But now the Lebanese have learned that that force that dominates them is not eternal, and it's not divine.
We have this harkens back to the conversation we had during the Green Revolution. Was it 2009 or 10 in Iran, when America under Barack Obama lost the opportunity, wasted an opportunity to get behind a populist movement to undo the theocracy there. Is this a potential opportunity for America and the West to help support a populist uprising to throw Hezbollah out?
100%, Doctor, 100%. You and I have been witnessing this. It was in June 2009. And every time there was an opportunity under the Obama administration and 4 years closing now of the Biden administration to help what was called the Cedars Revolution in 2005, they failed. They failed, and that was the result for why Hezbollah was able to root itself in Lebanon, to connect with the Islamic regime in Iran. And this is another opportunity. I don't want to say the last opportunity, but a huge opportunity for the population of Lebanon to rise with everything they can. But that's not just Lebanon. There are millions of Syrians who also are opposed to Hezbollah and the Khomeinist regime. In Iraq, even more. But guess where? Inside Iran. That's where the entire game is happening right now. It was called the Green Revolution when you and I commented about it in 2009. Wow, it's been many years. But now it's the actual Iranian revolution led by women. This month was the anniversary, the second anniversary of the killing of Mahsa Amini, which triggered large demonstrations. All of that, the weakening of these militias is sending signals everywhere. But unfortunately, to answer the second part of your question, will this administration do it? Of course not. The Biden administration could have done it for years. The Obama administration also for 8 years. The problem is the Iran deal. The Obama, Biden, Harris signing off or endorsing of the Iran deal is based on a transaction. We send money to the regime. The regime, buys and everything they want, weapons, funds, militias. And people ask me, why? Why are we as Americans supporting this? Well, because they are brokers. Doctor, they are brokers, and part of a slice of that money comes back to the brokers. The brokers are a lobby, and that lobby supports the Iran deal. That has been our problem. I mean, let me close by saying, one evidence was that as soon as the Biden team was in the White House, that was the end of January 2021, what did they do? They actually delisted the Houthi organization, militia, that is now suffocating international commerce and trade in the Red Sea by firing missiles coming from Iran, of course, into the shipping line coming from the Persian Gulf. So that is telling us at the end of the day that we need to have a different policy. And the only way we're going to have a different policy, and I'm not doing politics here, is to have a different administration in November.
Before we let you go, I have to ask about the sweet irony of Ibrahim Akil being taken out in a targeted attack yesterday inside Lebanon, south of Beirut. That happens to be the 41st anniversary of the Lebanon bombings, the Lebanon embassy bombings, that killed scores of people. Your thoughts about that, Walid?
Well, quick two thoughts since we're closing. Number one is that the Israelis have the information about all that network that targeted not just the Israelis, but America and American interest and the military. Nobody will forget that attack against the Marines in Lebanon, against the embassy in Lebanon. Guess what? I was there. I heard the blast. But what is of great concern, if I may come back to the U.S. and surrender this conversation, Hezbollah is so much on steroids under this administration that they are celebrating, or they are doing a service for a Hezbollah, terrorists here in Detroit, in America. This is unbelievable. And with the portrait of that Hezbollah commander in military gears in Detroit, in Michigan, is that possible? We are at that point where we are celebrating their military, the Hezbollah terrorist military in America. Well, I can't wait for a change of policy.
That's right. Well, and this Ibrahim Akil was involved in that episode 41 years ago, wasn't he? I mean, their blood is on his hands, and here they took him out on the very anniversary. I mean, to watch the Israelis work, you could make a movie out of it. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
The whole thing is a movie, and that would be the most poignant episode of it. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, Walid, we thank you for the time as always, and it's really a privilege and a pleasure to talk to you, Dr. Walid Phares, an academic analysis in terms that we can all understand, and that's a rare, rare treasure. And we treasure you. Thanks for being with me, my friend.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
All right. And again, you can check on Dr. Walid Phares' website, walidphares.net, or on Twitter. If you really want to get what's going on there, he grew up in Lebanon, was there, as he said, during the Beirut bombings in '83. He knows about this area, and he's frequently on Al Arabiya and other outlets throughout the Middle East. He's involved in the conversation and is really an advocate for routing out the terrorists and rooting them out, one by one by one. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls, 314-912-1019. It's News Talk STL, 1019-94.1.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
If you want to get an idea of just what kind of great dentistry the great dentists do at advanceddentistrynow.com, that's, of course, Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer, just check on the website, advanceddentistrynow.com. Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles is fantastic. They do great work. And I go to Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles for all my work. I've got another visit coming up here in a little while to check on how things are going. I do that every 6 months. And, I just want to take good care of my teeth. I want to make sure that the examination is thorough, that the things in and around my teeth, like my gums, my cheeks, my tongue, they look about everything in the mouth. Make sure that you have a thorough exam at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Now, of course, these days, as money is getting tighter, they want you to know that they're concerned about your finances as well. They want you to know that your insurance plan in most cases is not insurance. It's just a supplement and often doesn't cover the great work you need to be done. But if you need work to be done, they have a dental savings plan. You should talk to them about that. They want to make sure that you get access, that it's affordable, and of course, it's always so very, very good. Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles at advanceddentistrynow.com. That's advanceddentistrynow.com.
If you haven't been to Lit Cigar Lounge in the district at Chesterfield, you're missing a great experience. Premium cigars, drinks, spacious seating, TVs in every direction. This and more explain why Lit was voted Best Cigar Lounge 2 years in a row. Now you can be at Lit and order Napoli Brothers pizza and pasta delivered to you. In fact, Napoli's just a few doors down. A coal-fired oven giving a unique taste. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, now open in the Chesterfield district.
Epic STL is always on the lookout for highly motivated, goal-oriented, results-driven people to add to our growing, winning team of sales and content professionals. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL is a locally owned and operated venture of Epic STL. Apply to be a part of our creative, fun, and rewarding work environment by simply going to the Connect tab on newstalkstl.com and click on Application. Epic STL and News Talk STL are equal opportunity employers.
Retirement planning used to be easy. You put in your 40 years with the company, get the gold watch, and life's good, right? Wrong. Randy Tobler here. Planning for retirement today involves balancing critical decisions regarding your investments, pensions, Social Security, and more. That's why I'm urging you to start planning now. It's also why you should connect with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. They bring a combined 100 years of wealth management experience to help you with your retirement plan. You can hear Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 during On the Money here on News Talk STL 1019. Their team is ready to help you design your retirement plan with the care and commitment you deserve. Request your complimentary retirement plan consultation today at clearpathinvesting.com or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Monday, what new chaos and crises did Kamala Harris cause over the weekend? Senator Jim Talent joins us at 4:25, 5:25. Red State Headlines with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer. On News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
Seeing red, so don't push me. Ain't Donald Trump trying to grab him by the... Said it was some Haitians somewhere out in Springfield. Women doing cartwheels.
Have you seen Garfield?
Have you seen Snowball? This about to snowball. I'm about to go off. I can't let this go on. Miss me like an airball. Tell me where my cat is coughing up like a hairball. I gotta tell them if they even put the finger.
Okay, so we have to have a little fun. I don't know if there's mass domestic cat and dog eating going on in Springfield, Ohio. What is going on, though, is 20,000 Haitians, pretty much increasing that community's population by a third, and it's overwhelming hospitals, it's overwhelming law enforcement. The roads are adrift with drivers who get driver's. How do you get a driver's license if you're a Haitian immigrant? You know why? Because, and that clip, Jerome, is number 8. You know how they're getting driver's license? Because while the executive order that Joe Biden issued back in the spring that limited and really clamped down on some of the border crossings on the southern border, at the same time, he's been opening these other programs that are legalizing this mass parole and another program that basically brings these people under temporary protective status. Haiti, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, I believe, 4 or 5 different countries. And that's how they're getting here. That makes them, big air finger quotes, legal. We know it's unethical. We know it's wrong. We know it's un-American. We know it's not pro-America first. It's not certainly pro-American jobs, American communities, American, your kids' education, your job, your hospital access. It's nothing about that. It's about sending them to red or purple states. They're not sending them except in small, relatively speaking, in terms of relative to where they're sending them. The little influx in New York City doesn't really make a difference, but in a city like Springfield, Ohio, it does. In other rural and Midwestern country cities, it makes a big difference. They're sending them there. They can get a driver's license because now they're, quote, legal. Listen to Bill Malugin's report on that.
At the start of 2023, they created 2 new programs to allow migrants to come into the U.S. legally, bypassing Border Patrol entirely. And according to new CBP data, those Biden programs have now allowed more than 1.3 million migrants to come into the U.S. So take a look at this. According to that CBP data, about 530,000 migrants have now flown into the U.S. as part of the Biden administration's controversial mass parole program for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. It's called the CHNV program.
So there you go. Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. And that is mass parole. Now, that program, you've heard it here on the program when we've talked to officials and representatives of the Center for Immigration Studies. They've described that program is supposed to be for a family that is under duress, that is being persecuted in, any country in the world. The State Department gets awareness of it, communicates with the president, who then says, hey, I'm going to parole this family. And they make a direct flight from wherever they are to the United States. And they get, essentially refugee or protected status. I mean, I'm outlining it in broad terms, but that's what it is. It's not meant to be a mass parole program that anyone who wants to in those countries can just come on over. Take a direct flight. You're here, baby. And then you're in the system. And you land in Springfield, Ohio, Aurora, Colorado, maybe a city near you. What if they started landing in Troy, Missouri? What if they started landing in Washington, Missouri? How about Festus? How about St. Charles? Look, where does it end? Wentzville. Would that be a nice place, a beautiful place to land, 10, 15, 20,000 Haitians or Venezuelans? Not a problem. Got you covered. That's what we could be looking at. And it has to stop. We can't tolerate it anymore. How people on that policy issue alone, irrespective of Kamala Harris's, commercials now. There's a commercial came out that says that touts her time as the Attorney General when she was interdicting and prosecuting fentanyl and drug dealers. Hey, I'm sorry. That's 2 steps too late, sister. That's not good foreign or good border policy. It starts at the border. It starts at the ports. It starts at let people that want to have economic immigration. That's fine. Let them come over and make an application at the consulate, the United States consulate in their country. Make their case then. That consulate can do a much, much, much better job of vetting those people. And if indeed it can be ascertained and verified that they are subject to political persecution, to other types that are well defined, not just that they have a job at the local, a supermarket and they're not happy with it, or they're a taxi driver in Venezuela and that's, they want to be a taxi driver in New York City, or an Uber driver in Springfield, or maybe a Lyft driver in, shall I say, Jefferson County, down in, maybe in Fenton. Yeah, that's it. Let's plop them in Fenton. That sounds like a good place to do. O'Fallon. Yeah, I think they need to be a Lyft driver in O'Fallon. Sounding good. Okay, that would be actually potentially something that I think I could live with if the vetting was good, if I was convinced of that, but not 20,000 of them dropped in. You can't, it just doesn't make sense. It's not in our interest. And why people are voting for Kamala Harris. By the way, early voting has started in Virginia day before yesterday or yesterday. I think it's still hung up in Pennsylvania with some litigation going on. But across the nation, it's going to be starting very, very soon if it already hasn't. And people are still hung up on the Oprah vibe, the new Kamala, the reinvented, the propaganda endorsed Kamala. And people are going to be voting on that. And they're not, if they work in a factory, they don't realize that job is going to be gone. These 1.3 million that Bill Malugin just reported on, 1.3 million are now here legally because of this mass parole. They have worker permits. They can take your job. And by the way, Jerome, they can take your job, and you know what? There are corporate leaders, there are people in C-suites that are happy in order to maintain their margins and keep their stockholders happy. They are happy to let them take your job.
I'm really glad that you're bringing that up too, because I think not enough people realize that sometimes it is these big corporations that are paying these people, under the table, out of pocket at a much lower rate than what we are getting paid. And so there's really not a way for us to combat that or to, fight against that, and retain our workers' rights.
And let's be honest about it. I got to be careful here and walk delicately. But since we've developed a soft generation or two, present company excluded, Jerome, I think anyone who looks at what our forefathers did, the World War II generation, the baby boomers, I'm at the end of the baby boom generation. I don't work as hard as my dad and his dad worked. I don't think that most people these days, with the work-life balance mantra that's so popular, we don't work as hard. I got to tell you, you ask anyone in the restaurant industry, you ask people in other industries. I have a good friend in the restaurant industry, Helene and I do. And he says, man, give me a foreign-born worker any day over the new American worker that doesn't come in on Saturday morning because they partied too hard on Friday. The one who has a headache on Super Bowl Monday because they partied too hard. Well, maybe almost any Monday. And look, I know that isn't the crowd listening to this station, but those of you who know what I'm talking about. The new American workforce is not the same very often. The younger American workforce, they value their time, they value their work-life balance. And you know what? Maybe there's something to be said for that. And we can have that discussion some other time. Man, I'm telling you, you get these foreign-born workers, they work hard. They know what hard work is, and they're willing to work for less than many Americans are. And certainly they're willing to work in situations where the unions have protected, job hours and so forth. So it's a real concern. And, I will never forgive George Bush. Speaking of that, George W. Bush, who I think was a much better president than most people would give him credit for, and certainly a good human being. When he said when he was defending, agricultural workers coming in and, mass immigration in a sense, not illegal immigration, when he said that there are jobs that Americans just won't do. Well, maybe that's because Americans who are doing jobs will pay for too hefty a welfare benefit, so it's too easy not to do jobs that you don't want to do. Those welfare benefits accrue, whether it's housing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's the educational opportunities that often accrue. It's one after another. The food stamps. I mean, I remember that report that chronicled what a woman in Pennsylvania with four kids, with all of the benefits they could get, state and federal, would be like over $50,000 a year. Well, we better head to a break and then wrap it up. Your calls are welcome in this last segment, 314-912-1019. Give me a buzz. Let me know what you think about what we've been talking about, because I know you're talking about it and thinking about it. 314-912-1019. We'll be back.
Here's the church, here's the steeple, here's to all God's crazy people.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
For over 50 years, Di Gregorio's Italian Market has been serving up a taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned and operated, nestled in the heart of the hill. From homemade sausage and meatballs to spadini, pizzas, pastas, and sauces, our wide variety of Italian specialties will transport your taste buds straight to Rome. For a truly authentic Italian shopping experience, visit your friends at Di Gregorio's. Shop local, shop Di Gregorio's Italian Market, where every bite tells a story.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8888. 888-888-8686 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Tim Jones here for my favorite St. Louis Sports Bar and Grill experience, the go-to spot of Johnny's Hideout. Johnny's Hideout featuring over 40 big screen TVs to watch all the great games this college and NFL season. Awesome food specials every single day that I absolutely love. Bike nights, classic cars on Wednesdays, live music every weekend, and a fantastic time to visit the gorgeous Sunset Patio. Located just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. onwards. All the information you need to know at jhideout.com. That's jhideout.com. Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stigall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226 or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. This is News Talk STL.
Hey, I want to thank you for being with us all morning. If you can't make all of the show, that's okay. You can always catch the podcast later on. And we would invite you to do that. And we invite you to join in the program, too, whether you comment on the various video feeds, and we feed on Rumble and Facebook and YouTube. We get thrown off of YouTube? I tried real hard.
No, surprisingly, we are actually still on YouTube.
Oh, there we go. And Twitter, of course. Now, so James is on the line now. Let's talk to James. How you doing? Thank you for calling.
Yes, Doctor. Thank you for taking my call. I was listening earlier to one of your segments, and you mentioned against government, mandates on, banning things and such whatnot, like for instance, smoking. And then you related it, an analogy to, okay, well, what are we got to do? Ban jelly donuts or sugar soda because it's no good for you? Well, here's the difference. Okay, I walk into an establishment, okay, and someone's smoking. Okay, I'm breathing their secondhand smoke. If they're eating a jelly donut, that doesn't affect me. Or the sugar soda.
Well, but maybe I'm sure you heard that I specified that in public places where you have to go and you don't have another choice, I would endorse a ban. Because
I heard that, like public buildings like the DMV. Or
your freedom stop. Your freedom stop where it infringes on my liberties to be a healthy human being. So it's not a one-to-one correlation, but I think my point is, well, let's use grocery stores for instance. Let's use a restaurant. I would certainly patronize a restaurant that doesn't allow smoking. But that ought to be up to the market to figure that out, right? I mean, I think that, no one forces you to go to a bar, do they? I mean, not that last time I heard, no one forced you to go to a restaurant.
They don't. Good point. That's a valid point. And it's a very contentious argument, I guess. I've got an argument with a friend of mine who smokes, and he says, well, just don't go there. I said, well, secondhand smoke is proven to be just as dangerous as firsthand smoking. Okay, and if it's that dangerous and we get that much cancer in the country, okay, I'm all for the free market and everything else. Now, let's use the People's Republic of Illinois as an example. It's the only thing they did get right. Okay, seriously. And I'll draw this example. It's like, and let me tell you, people adapt. Okay, and I would submit to you that these owners of these restaurants and pubs would it doesn't affect their business at all. Okay, and here's why. I dated a girl years ago. She was in Marine, Illinois. We went out there to a pub, and she said, "There's a great band playing here." Okay, fine. And so we pull up. There was a line around the building, and I'm like, "Who's playing here? Van Halen?" And she goes, and we pull up. She goes, "No, those are people smoking." It was unbelievable. We walk in; these people were outside. It was they'd come in, and they'd come in, and then 5 minutes later, they get up and they go back out. Now, we recently had a pub here in Maryland Heights. It's closed, but and we got this stupid rule. Thank you, Sam Page. Where if the only way it's a smoking law in the county, I guess, is when you change ownership. Now it's non-smoking, but if the previous owner is grandfathered in, so it's a very hodgepodge in St. Louis County, right? Well, this one popular pub changed ownership. And all my friends, this one friend I'm talking about, he went to it. We all like to go to it. We go in there, and he's like, "Oh, damn, I can't smoke in here." I'm like, "So what did he do?" He got up, went outside and smoked, came back in.
Yeah.
I mean, then 5 minutes later, he's having a cigarette fit. So he goes out and has another cigarette. Same with my other friend. And that bar didn't lose any business. So I guess that's just where I'm at. I'm like,
well, you're right. People adapt. Look, mine is a principle first argument, and I understand sometimes pragmatism outstrips principle. I get that. And look, I can live with the smoking ban, but my argument was essentially one on it's a slippery slope argument, admittedly. But at what point?
It's a slippery slope, yeah.
And think about it. Think about it. While someone eating a jelly donut in the market doesn't affect you directly at that moment, there are so many people drinking so much regular sugared soda, eating so many starches, not getting exercise, sleeping poor, on and on and on, that are on 60, well, now almost 70% of every healthcare dollar is funded by taxpayers. It does then affect you, because if you are paying for someone else's behavioral indiscretion that affects their health and costs billions and billions in healthcare that would not have to be rendered otherwise, maybe you can't buy organic produce. Maybe you can't afford to buy fruits and vegetables and fresh things because it's a lot cheaper to buy processed stuff. You see what I mean? So it's sort of an indirect impact on you as well, and on your health and on your family.
I was focusing more on the direct, immediate. I walk in and
No, you're right, and I don't deny that. Look,
it's not affecting me.
I don't deny that. I don't deny that at all. But no one. I would love a society where, hey, if Joe wants to have a bar or a restaurant or name it, an office that doesn't have smoking, I think people would flock to that non-smoking establishment. And if Susie wants to open up a smoking establishment, bar, office, let Susie do that. I mean,
and that's a good point. And to your point, there is a pub that opened up, changed ownership recently, a couple of years ago, just right around the block from where I live, and it's non-smoking, and they pack them in there, and people go outside and smoke, and they come back in. And, it's no big deal. But and my point is, it's the only thing the People's Republic of Illinois got right now. Sam Page, I mean, can we let's just don't have this hodgepodge rule in St. Louis County. Make it even the landscape all across the board here, right?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well,
that's
I guess
rant.
we're going to
listening.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, James. I think we probably at some fairly high level agree on our principles. Now, one of my principles is I want control over my life at the smallest possible denomination of government that I can. That's why, hey, okay, if the central government needs to have defense and there's waste in the Defense Department, they need to protect me from enemies, foreign enemies. I get it. We abdicate certain of our freedoms in order for safety to various jurisdictions, and but let it be a decentralized thing. If you don't like the way Maryland Heights regulates the pubs and the bars, and you do in Marlboro or whatever, fine. Let it be that way. Go, it's a short hop, skip, and a drive in your electric vehicle. Oops, there you go. That one slipped out. To go to wherever you want. All right. Hey, so the other day, J.D. Vance had some fun. jousting at Wall's faux warrior routine. Remember when he carried guns into combat before he didn't? Get a load of this. So here he is next to, the visual on this is great. He's standing out with a gun connected by a wire to an arcade game. It's a buck hunter arcade game, and he's having some fun. Take a listen.
Hey guys, JD Vance here, playing a little buck hunter before a rally in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, also known as the closest Tim Walz has ever gotten to real combat. Have fun out there.
The closest that Tim Walz ever got to real combat. Ouch. That was a good one, and I am glad to see JD Vance out there on the more that I hear him come back at indirectly like this through these great posts at directly at the Trump wall, at the Harris-Walz campaign, or if he's combating the fake news, the biased news, the prejudice news, like he did when he was on with Dana Bash. I mean, he let her have it. It's great to see. And it's great to see that, they're fighting hard. They're out there answering the questions. Kamala Harris is word salading the questions. And, we'll have to see whether the voters who have yet to vote, remember, early voting's in place, will they discover the travesty, the deceit, the lies that define the Harris-Walz campaign? I don't know. Will that happen? Won't it happen? We'll have to see. And that'll wrap up another edition of the Tobler Show. Make sure that you stay tuned the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be out for a couple of weeks, and Jerome will be handling things. I know he's already working on a great show. It'll be a big show. It'll be a great show. Perhaps the best 2 shows that the planet has ever heard.
It'll be huge.
It'll be huge. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you.
They're eating the cats, meow, 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 meow. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea with a glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me, as he died to make men holy. Let us live to make men free. While God is marching
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me vent here.
Live and local.
Way to be, guys. 1019 all the way.
This is News Talk STL.
I am home.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes